Hey, everybody, it's Tuesday. Welcome to the Giant Bombcast. If I had done things correctly, then you would have heard a magnificent intro where Jeff Grubb was singing the most beautiful falsetto, and then our guests, Imran Khan.
Hello.
And our second guest, John Warren, were also freestyle, not rapping, but scatting.
Freestyle screaming,
freestyle screamoing their current feelings on the state of cinema lenses, and it's a very niche market, but we brought these two on specifically for that. I'm your host, Jan Ochoa. This is episode 756 of the Giant Bombcast, September 20th, 2022. I almost said 2. That would have freaked me the hell out. Co-captain of the ship.
Warn people about the Iraq War.
I don't know what the first thing I would try and warn people about would be.
There's too much.
There's too much.
I would just be like, there's too much to warn people about. I'm going to give up. I'm just going to sit here and be like, it's too much work.
It'd be way too much work. And that's why I have the co-captain of this ship, Jeff Grubb.
I'm going to warn you, horse armor DLC is coming. Everybody, get under the bed. It's coming for us all.
Was that the tipping point for all of society? That's what went wrong?
Probably. Yeah, that's when it really went bad. The economy and war. Absolutely. Horse armor DLC. Todd Howard, you did it. You dang did it.
It's Todd Howard's fault. But you know it's not his fault. Is our special guest today. I think I've mentioned him like 5 times now. Imran Khan and John Warren. How you doing, bud?
Doing good. I mean, like, all things considered, doing pretty good. Yeah. It's a nice morning. I've got a cat in my lap. She's purring real nice. Like, this is it's hard to be mad about the world when you have a cat in your lap.
Fair enough.
Very true.
And listen, like, our circumstances are kind of wild right now, but like, I'm a silver linings kind of guy. I'm on LinkedIn Premium now. Like, I'm real. It's like, I've got so many bits and bytes coming at me from all different directions. And like, isn't that more important than being gainfully employed? Just being a LinkedIn kind of in person,
Yeah.
Steve Ballmer's LinkedIn. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I'm really kind of coasting on that energy, but thanks for having me.
Alicia from LinkedIn keeps messaging me to join LinkedIn Premium. So maybe
Jan, it changed my life 5 days ago. It might change yours.
It's free for journalists. So like, I signed up a long time ago, and like, I just have this thing. It's like, you're a top candidate for this like job that I'm in no way qualified for. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll try it with that. Whatever you say, LinkedIn, I'm willing to cede my decision making to you.
That's not a problem anymore. You see this new trend of people hiring stand-ins for interviews so they could get jobs they're not qualified for. And so there was one guy that's like did that for IT at a hospital, and he tried to fix something, and he made every single device on the one floor go offline, and no one could do any like remote checking on patients for like an hour or two. And when they're like, okay, fix this, he just got up and left like a George Costanza. I'm like, man, that is so powerful.
That's a power move right there. Yeah,
that's very good. That's
for folks that don't know, Imran, John, who are you? What's popping? What's like the elevator pitch for who you two are?
I will start. Was a journalist for fanbyte.com and former Game Informer, and I've been
always
on
are. Once you are one, you always will be one. I'm sorry. I'm not to inform you.
Yeah, I know it's the blood in, blood out thing where I don't think I'm allowed to leave unless I cut off a pinky. But we recently got laid off as the heads of fanbyte.com decided that our services were no longer necessary. So we're making the podcast circuit and talking about video games, because I have this thing where if I don't talk about video games out loud for at least like every couple of days, I start getting like itchy. And I need to say something to somebody. So thank God we have like the methadone of Giant Bombcast to be on.
That's what we call ourselves here. Absolutely. The methadone of podcasting.
Yeah. That's why we run the podcast so long, is just so you can stretch it out for a couple days,
I'm John Warren. I was the head of Fanbyte Media. Sounds like a position you can't be fired from, but they fucking did it. They did it. I was running the media division over there, founded the website fanbyte.com. built that incredible team, best team in the biz. And yeah, we're all 15 of us are looking for what's next. I have no idea what that is. I've had conversations about wild parts of the industry that I didn't expect to have, and out of the industry and all that
PR.
stuff, so.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, Grub, I've just been itching to get into that PR pipeline. I just absolutely
the wild
love
side of gaming.
Yeah, no, so we're just hanging out. Like, I'm kind of like Imran. I'm like, Jan asked me to be on this, and I was like, man, have I even paid attention to what's going on in the past 5 days? But turns out I think I have, as we're still all in a Discord treating it like Slack because we're absolutely addicted to whatever this is. So I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having us. This is awesome. The entire industry has honestly been like incredibly supportive, and like, I don't know, just super nice to us and super nice to folks that got laid off at G4, and then obviously Input yesterday. Like, it is just a bloodbath out there. So it's awesome that y'all are having us on.
I have a question about how it went. You guys don't have to answer this. When they come to you, whoever's above you, and says, "Hey, we're shutting this down," what energy do they have? Is it guy coked up at a party with a lot of ideas that's like afraid he's going to run out of coke money, or is it like destitute used car salesman who's like, car lot just got set on fire?
Again,
which
you don't have to answer.
You have to answer, but which one?
Here's the thing: I can't answer that because I was asleep when it happened. I was in Japan.
Yeah. Really
Jesus
good point.
Christ.
I woke up to an email saying, "Hey, here's your end of employment agreement." I'm like, "What? No, sorry." I woke up to an email. I woke up to a DM from my partner Rebecca Valentine first, saying, "I'm so sorry about this. I'm so sorry what happened. Please, call me." And I had no idea what that was about. And apparently, John had had told her already that I had been laid off, because I did not know. And then we
saw Imran's name disappear from Slack, and that's when I DM'd Web, and I was like, hey, yeah.
Yeah. Then what happened is I was scrolling through Twitter, and I saw a recent error thread saying layoffs at Fanbyte. I clicked that, and in that thread, in the first 10, 15 posts, there's a tweet from my colleague Merritt K, who said, "We just lost our news editor." And then I was like, oh. This is bad. So I texted our managing editor, Niriam Strom. And I was like, "Hey, was I let go?" And they were like, "Yeah." So, okay. So that's how I found out. So I have no idea what the coked up or not coked up kind of response was from management, because they did not talk to me until I called them later to yell at them about how stupid this was.
Yeah, I can't speak to the energy. I think because those severance checks are still in the fucking mail, dude.
Sure, yeah, of course,
yeah. But I will say the first thing I did, because I was the first one they called, because you always start with the big cheese, you know what I mean? It was 9:30 Pacific when they called. Literally the first thing I did when I hung up is I checked what time it was in Tokyo, and I was like. Holy fuck, Imran's not going to know until the next day. So we were all pretty panicked about that. But listen, media is a bloodbath. I don't know what to say about it. Programmatic revenue churn is one of the worst things in the biz. It's awful. Google controls way too much. No accounting for taste above a certain level. So it's just, it's tough.
You guys, I mean, it was the accounting, I think in this case was obviously in your favor. It just needed more time.
That's the thing.
It just needed a little bit more time.
I can't speak to a whole lot, but it's there are other things that company has done very well that did not turn a profit until about year 10.
Yeah.
Year 10.
Absolutely.
So it's when you're talking about going against IGN, that has been around for literally 25 plus years, and GameSpot, similar kind of thing, and Kotaku, long time. Polygon obviously had that massive launch, and it's just kind of had that, it's trying to get above that mid tier is hard. Yeah. And if you're not going to give an outlet enough time to do it and enough resources, I can't speak specifically to those things, but it's it's hard to do, so we had the best team. We had a cool thing going, and now that cool thing's just going to be split amongst a bunch of lucky people, lucky entities, I think. So
yeah, a friend of mine pointed out that like, because this is the second time this has happened to me. So
Yeah,
a friend
I
of
was
mine has
gonna
pointed
ask.
out that I was working at a company whose retail business was not doing well, so they decided to start cutting jobs from other places, which was Game Informer. And now I'm working at a company that made $35 billion, or was working at a company that made $35 billion in profit, and then they also cut jobs because everything else wasn't keeping up as well. So really, there's no good option in terms of corporate ownership. Like eventually, like this is working out great for you guys because you guys have that membership thing. But like in general, I think there is this like eye of Sauron that's constantly on you in game journalism that you need it. You need backing. You need financial backing for great journalism. It's just part of it. I could not take a month to write about Phenomena if I was just like I had to write about all these other things in the meantime to keep up the profit margins. But like you need to have financial backing, and it's very hard right now because I don't think that financial backing understands how good game journalism works. And this is a hypothetical, not talking about any specific company in particular, but they're probably just never going to understand. And I think maybe we are currently in that transitional period of game journalism where the people have most of the power. And I think that's probably going to be like how this goes forward for a lot of people is, as John was saying, we had a bunch of people now that were doing a great thing together that are now probably going to do them all separately, which hopefully they can get the support they need in doing that.
Yeah, it's just it's incredibly tough to kind of explain to anybody that's looking at hard numbers about like, hey, if you really want to do great news and research and investigative stuff, that's not going to be where your profit center is. And you have to just like take the L. Like if you invest in some other stuff and kind of build a specific loyal audience and I don't know, maybe have a subscription service. Y'all would know nothing about that. It's like you can do things in the space sustainably, but you have to be super smart about it. And you have to be willing to adapt. And you also have to be willing to look at certain aspects of it and go, we're never going to turn a profit on this, but it's important to build influence or to build, you know, voice or social standing. It's like, it's an unbelievably complicated business, and we got bit by it. And
corporations get bored, right? That's what happens.
Corporations get bored, and they also get, you know, they also like. I'm not saying this is a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, it's obviously a bad thing, but at some point, decisions do get made that are like they're a person looking at a spreadsheet, and if they see number go bad, they go, ooh, like we can stop number go bad by make it go away. And that's kind of like, that's, I don't know. It's a tough thing, but we're here. The response has been honestly like, I could not have anticipated this to be as like, I think ultimately oddly a positive experience in a lot of ways. I don't want to speak for everyone, but it has been kind of that way for me. So yeah, but here we are. We're here to talk about video games, baby.
Yeah, when I was in Japan, a friend described it as a shitty birthday where everyone you know checks in on you to just say hi. And I'm like, that's kind of what it is. Like, and like people have been very nice about like helping me try to find like new jobs, and like that's also been true about the people on Fanbyte. It's nice to know that like the last couple of years weren't for nothing. That we do have friends in the industry, which includes you guys as well.
Yeah.
John, I want to take this opportunity to say that you did assemble possibly will go down in history the greatest team at Fanbyte. Fucking one of the best around, and like you could just feel there were other companies, other sites just like looking across the water, be like, damn, those fuckers are having fun over there. Wow. God. They're all so nice. They're all so nice and polite. God dang it.
And I think it's one of those things where that outside impression genuinely did kind of match the inside, which is like, that's impossible to me. So I will both be in awe of that and kind of confused as to how I managed to make that work. And then I will also pat myself on the back for that probably as long as I live. So it was an amazing team, and I loved working with every single one of them. And cool thing is I think we're going to keep working with each other in various ways, and we'll just kind of see how that pans out.
Yes.
So I appreciate the very kind words. Everyone's been lovely.
And everyone continue saying nice words, because now we have to make the impossible pivot and I guess talk about video games. I guess.
Womp, womp.
Oh no, that's the wrong music cue. This is the one I want.
Why do you even have taps on there? It's crazy.
We being Tam and I visited Sony PlayStation in sunny, beautiful San Mateo and checked out the PlayStation VR 2. And wanted Tam on, but Tam's a very busy man, so I'll just speak to how that was. Yo, I hate it. I hate it because it continues to be a very comfortable headset.
Yeah,
And then,
see, that's kind of where I came from it too, because like I also tried it at TGS.
yes,
It's really like it makes the Oculus Rift or Meta Rift or whatever seem like a cheap toy.
yes. It like, and the different methods of adjusting like the lenses or like the fit of everything, it just feels very intuitive. There's also a feature where I think this is common to other VR headsets where you can like look outside now, and
Right.
The cameras that they have on the outside aren't garbage anymore, and you don't have to deal with like the PlayStation Eye anymore. So you're actually clearly seeing where your existing play area is, and you can pop that on anytime. Just popping through the menu. Imran, are you allowed to talk about what you played with the PSVR 2, or?
I played Resident Evil Village.
Yes.
So I played a little bit of the Castle of Lady Dimitrescu segment. She's tall.
She's very
like,
tall.
They specifically made a point like, hey, you can look up at Lady Dimitrescu. So of course I did that. I was like, oh damn, she is tall. But like that headset like works so much better than PSVR did, because PSVR, like, even at the time, it felt like it not a budget headset, because like VR budget is difficult to talk about, but like you could tell that it was not quite at the same level as like higher end headsets like the Rift and stuff like that.
Scraped together from spare parts. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Jim Ryan built that in a cave, and I like it was fine, but in like I think I could talk about this now. In 2015, Sony took me to the side of like a convention show floor, and they showed me like they had me play Infamous Second Son with this weird like eye tracking thing.
Oh.
That was not a headset at the time, but like it was this thing where you could aim by actually looking where you're like looking in the game.
Yeah.
And this is basically like when playing the PSVR 2, I had that same feeling of back when I did that thing, because obviously that was probably them trying out that new technology.
Sure.
But it's that same initial feeling of, oh, this shit works now. They've actually done some things to actually advance the function of VR in a way that makes games both better and more comfortable. And I'm really, really eager to see where they take this, because like the Quest wireless, very cool, as a cheap headset, or previously cheaper headset, it was like it advanced VR quite a bit. But I think this is the first time since the Quest that I felt like, okay, we're actually at a point where VR is hitting its next generation stride.
Definitely. Yeah. The benefit of this is that, as far as I know, you won't have like the little breakout box anymore. And then that was incredibly cumbersome.
Yeah.
Trying to set that up, even trying to capture that for footage was an absolute nightmare. Here, you just have a single USB-C cable. It's very low profile, going straight to the console. The other thing that I found really great were those new dang controllers. They have finger tracking as well. You don't have to worry about your PlayStation Move controllers or having to find those from 25 years ago. The demo that we checked out that I think stood out the most was the Horizon VR game.
Sure.
It starts with a boat segment, and it does that thing of like the Willy Wonka boat ride, where I was incredibly skeptical because I don't think I've really enjoyed VR at all. But there I had the dumb smile on my face and just like whispering to myself, wow. And then you just see all like the different beasts in Horizon, like the long neck or the tall neck or whatever, like casually walking through, not even noticing you. And then these two people yelling at you. And then here I am just sticking my hand in the water, and it's tracking my fingers. It's great. I also didn't realize that the headset kind of vibrated as well. So
It's
when
got haptics in it.
that I can see for some very Susio purposes. I'm just going to put that out there.
Right. You look up at Lady Dimitrescu and then right. Okay,
Exactly. Thank you, Grub, for reading my mind.
I'll
Thanks,
say it.
Grub.
That's what I'm here for.
But like,
Try to cancel me. Try it.
seeing like the different beasts, like the flying ones, just like zoom past you, and then like you feel the vibrations like you would in real life. I can really see this taking off if folks are willing to pay whatever price tag it's going to be.
That thing will not be cheap. They didn't say a price, but like the way
super
it
quiet
feels
about that.
the way it feels like genuinely like this is next level technology.
Yeah.
If they are pricing it the way they're pricing everything else with the PS5, that thing is going to be very. I'm gonna guess. I would say maybe $400 to $500 on its own.
It's got to be. There's no way it's under 400. It's just so hard to nail this down on a dartboard because, okay, it's not. It doesn't have like the phone hardware that's inside an Oculus Quest, a Meta Quest, whatever. So it's like it's a dummy thing you plug into a PS5. That's where all the processing is being done. Yet the same thing is true of like a Vive or an HTC or I'm sorry, a Valve Index. But that's $1,000, and this is. You go down that spec sheet and you go down all the extra stuff in there, better than a Valve Index and better than the Vive Galaxy and all these other ones. So how is it going to be $400 even? I think it's going to be $500, and I would be surprised if it's anywhere under that.
Yeah.
Some of the other games we checked out was The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Part 2. Surprisingly impressed with that as well. A lot going on in that game. And Tam checked out a Star Wars game, and then he also checked out Resident Evil Village. He tried to get Lady D to step on him, but by Tam laying on the ground because he had predefined the play area, he went outside of his body and everything.
Sure. Okay.
So that was very jarring.
I will say during the Resident Evil Village, I got the best PR response to a question I've ever gotten, which was because I was playing with the finger tracking. And I was like, how does this work when you lose 2 fingers? And because you lose some fingers in that game. And they just looked at me and they like, we're not talking about that right now. Which like, that's a real simple question. Like that doesn't feel like a marketing beat.
Jim Ryan comes to your house and rips your fingers off.
I was about to say, you lose your fingers in the game, you lose them in real life. That's just how it goes now.
But yeah, the headset in its entirety, it still feels really, really good. And Imran, I think you hit it perfectly that like it feels like a nice product. You know, like it feels like a lot of design has been put into this. Like one of their PR dudes was very excited to tell me, it's like, hey, did you notice the PlayStation buttons on the controller? I'm like, yeah, of course I noticed the PlayStation buttons on the controller. What are you talking about? I wasn't that mean. I'm sorry, Sony PR person. But if you look at the controllers, like on the grips are like a bunch of tiny little triangles, circles, squares, and according to them, cross buttons. I'm not a cross house. It's a fucking X to me.
It's X. They are wrong. I know it's their thing, but they are wrong. It is X.
Exactly.
Right.
I hate that I'm really excited about it. I think I will need to see more games coming out.
Yeah, that's my question because a lot of the games you talked about, a lot of games they've shown at that State of Play, the 2 games they've shown at the State of Play, these are ports of Oculus Quest games and things that have been existing in one form or the other. I mean, that Galaxy's Edge Star Wars experience is multiple years old. That Saints and Sinners thing is a couple years old. I mean, it's on.
It's the second one, if that's any consolation. So it's a sequel or whatever.
This is Chapter 2. Maybe that's different, but the one I saw that's like right there on Steam. So either way, there's a lot of content for VR that has been made and seems like it will come to PSVR 2. How much new stuff is in the works is kind of what I'm wondering. Now I do know that the big thing, the big deal they made about this is that the PSVR 2 is easier to port to from other things that aren't a PSVR 1. We'll talk about that in the news. But other things like it's usually much more standard in industry APIs. So porting those games should be easier. It's just a big part of PSVR 1 was Sony going out to developers and saying, hey, we'll pay you to make VR games. I don't know how many of those studios are still out there ready and waiting for work to work on a VR game. It's probably fewer than it was last generation.
I know as of like 2020, I was talking to studios that are like, okay, yeah, we're working on the successor to PSVR. So they have been out there hitting the bricks and they have been like at least giving dev kits to studios. So there should be more things down the line. I agree that like the initial rollout seems a little anemic, but I think all they have to do is show like the new team. Is it Asobi? Is that the new team Asobi game?
Mhm.
Like, because undoubtedly that's going to be for PSVR too. Like that's what they do. They show off new tech. So like I bet if that's even anywhere near as good as Astro's Playground, then that'll be maybe not a like system seller if it's especially if it's like $700, but that'll be a thing that can like be a big proof of concept.
Honestly,
go ahead, Jim.
No, John. You please.
I was just gonna say, I mean, on the dev side, you know, if you're a dev that's making one of these PSVR games, Sony's got to be shelling out guarantees for this stuff, right? Because like the ceiling on these games is very exponentially lower.
Oh, totally.
Than in normal games. So like, the excitement around creating a PSVR 2 game has to almost be. I mean, maybe this is a bad comparison because it's egregiously weird, but it's like it almost has to be like the Stadia stuff where it's just like that Google, you know, PlayStation's got to be coming to the studios and going like, hey, we'll totally subsidize most of this budget, but please like make this, because it really feels like that given the output of the previous generation, and like Rub said, like the likelihood that this output is going to be even less than what we saw last time. So I don't know. I just have a lot. I would just love to be a fly on the wall for those conversations, because I don't know how anyone is like in and of itself psyched about this stuff. I feel like it's still a thing that gets forced into the conversation a little bit. And maybe that's just because I'm biased against VR. Like I've never really been a super VR person, but there have been VR games I played that do sing to me where I'm like, oh wow, I kind of get this, but like feels like those are very few and far between. So I still am like super curious about the kind of the financial discussions between Sony and all these other studios, because they must be fairly interesting.
Yeah, I think you're right that it's going to be a lot of Sony. I mean, that's, you know, that was John Drake's job before he left for Disney. He's just going out there talking to studios, making deals, and he did a ton of that. I am sure that there is a team in place that has continued that. It's just a question of how many of those teams are out there and are like thinking that making a deal to make a VR game is going to be their main way of making money going forward. I bet many of them are, but I bet a lot of them, just as many, probably are like, hey, we need to move on to greener pastures of the future rather than VR, where it's, you know, can we really rely on this?
Arguably the ceiling is higher, you know, elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it's like,
like if we could get another VR boom, like back when in like mid 2010s, there was that VC companies were just tossing money at VR. It doesn't matter whether you had whether you had experience making a game or not. They're like, you're doing a VR thing, here's several $1 million to get it started. And that's no longer the case. So if we could, like, I don't think we ever married the hype of VR with the technology to do it, because like we had VR before, but I feel like the current Oculus, but like both Oculi were not actually like powerful enough or comfortable enough.
That online.
But they were not the technology needed at the time. And I think now that we're getting there, now that like I think the PSVR is the right technology with the right time, with the right level of comfort, that if we could manage that with the right price and the right amount of like marketability around it, then we'd actually get some like real good things. But it's an open question of, outside of Sony, who is going to throw a AAA game at this? And that's the question I don't think has been answered yet. Like,
it was Valve, and they did it, and then doesn't seem like they're going to do it again anytime soon. And and Facebook is not. They're interested in like, oh, we're going to do the metaverse, and we're going to have our VR chat room too, and you know, just steal all these ideas from these other VR chat rooms. So it's just going to be a different thing for a very long time. It was never ever going to replace traditional gaming, it's still a question about whether or not it can even like stand beside it in any significant way. Right now, we're at a dip. We'll see when this game comes out. We'll see. You know, Half-Life Alyx probably does launch with PSVR 2. Maybe more people play that, and they're like, oh, a real game. Finally, it's getting out to this new audience. It's a second life for this thing. And we're not getting Second Life in VR, unfortunately. But
Jeff Grubb said it. He said it.
Zuckerberg's doing his best.
Second Life, bring back everybody. Here we go.
PlayStation Home. PlayStation Home
Yes.
already
No.
looked better than the Facebook Meta VR
Yes.
Oh my God.
bullshit.
Yep.
Like, let's just
not
bring
an
it back.
exaggeration. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, like those were the two things that I walked away from that appointment wanting. One, I wanted to play Half-Life Alyx because I don't have the means to play it otherwise. I don't.
Yeah.
I stream in my kitchen, for Pete's sake. You know, like I don't have space for the beacons and everything. And then the second thing is, give me some weird social hub where I can talk with the bros, the homies, the homegirls, the home thems, and just like have a weird time. Like
Give me a Splatoon 3 town to walk around in. And in VR. I mean, why not?
My favorite experience in VR has been sitting with the Quest and like doing VR chat. And like there was a VR chat room that was just the basement from Nier Automata. And I just sat there in that flower field and I like just kind of Escape was playing, and I like sat on my set with my like knees closed, and I just sat there like, this is nice. I'm just having a nice time sitting here.
And folks telling me in chat that that's what VR chat is all about, then hey, maybe I got to go try an expensive VR headset just so I can sit in VR chat and listen to all these pervs.
Yeah.
I'm there. You come hang out with me.
There we go. Let's take something completely new and not even out yet and talk about something kind of old. This hurts me inside. John, you've brought this to the table. I'm also thinking about how my QB broke his damn ankle, and now I'm back with a handsome one again.
God, I mean, what a disaster. Sorry, Jan.
Trey Lance, you were supposed to be. Oh my God. ESPN NFL 2K5. John, why?
Hi. Yeah, why am I talking about an 18-year-old video game? It's because I have a Steam Deck here.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful, and it is my new very favorite emulation device. I emulate a lot of stuff on my Steam Deck. I had a little Anbernic that played 2D games beautifully, played a lot of SNES games on that thing. The Steam Deck is that's exactly the model I have, Grub. And I put a lot of stuff on Steam Deck recently that I've not played in ages on PS2, GameCube, Xbox, you name it. And I've been having a really good time. It is a great emulation device. It is not, everyone says it's very easy. I would say it's easy enough to get started with that stuff. I would not say it's very easy. You do have to spend a little bit of time.
For how much you're doing, right? For like the amount I agree, for the hose of emulation that is possible to spray that thing down with.
Like that hose.
Setting that stuff at the emulation hose. That it's pretty easy relative to that, I think.
It reminds me of the very early days of Netflix when I would hear people kind of complain about the cost of a Netflix subscription, but you have to remember that Netflix also had like it was the first thing that had just basically anything you could ever want always, and I was always just like, y'all are out of your minds if you think that this is a bad deal. This is a great deal. Of course, now fast forward and we're in streaming service hell, and I can't even keep track of the things I'm fucking subscribed to. Anyway, but it's like emulation on the Steam Deck is amazing. I've been playing the very best football game of all time. It's ESPN NFL 2K5. Those 2K folks got it right back in the mid-aughts. Madden came in, swooped that NFL license away from him, and Madden has been a shitty franchise ever since.
It was so good that EA had to take it away from them because they're like, we just can't compete.
They made a better game and they dropped it to $20. I don't know if y'all remember that halcyon summer of 2004, but I was a big football game fanatic and I was very psyched about this. And I've put like a embarrassing number of hours into NFL 2K5, and now
do you do any of like the roster updating and stuff? Is that stuff
so
easy to do?
It's super easy to do. You can get roster updates. There's basically a remastered version of 2K5 out now. That's basically 2K23. It's got modern things. They've gone in and stretched the bones out and made the LA Rams and LA Chargers and all that stuff. And so it is. They've gotten rid of the racist Washington name and all that stuff, which is kind of amazing. So yeah, it is. It's the best football game ever made. It is still the very best. I've been playing a ton of it, and I don't know. I don't know what to say. I've been playing an 18-year-old game. Yeah,
I tried to get Blitz the League 2 running on my Steam Deck, and I failed. I bet it will work now. I need to go back and try again after all the improvements to Emu Deck and all that stuff. So
there's some troubleshooting, but But EmuDeck is the thing that you need. It's kind of
Oh, yeah.
one stop to install a bunch of stuff on your Steam Deck right away. Obviously, I can't tell you where to get BIOS or ROMs or anything like that. The FBI would break through my window. But it's a very, very cool.
Maybe some sort of internet archive of some sort. I don't know.
Maybe some sort of internet archive. I don't know.
Who's to
But
say?
it's I don't know. My Steam Deck is my new favorite thing. I carry my Switch and my Steam Deck just kind of reflexively with me everywhere, which is like kind of cumbersome, but like I don't know. It's I don't know. This is the pinnacle of kind of, you can have any game you want at your fingertips kind of right now, and it's I don't know, it's pretty dope.
It's special. It's special.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's
The
pretty
SNES
cool.
core for the Analog Pocket just came out. So I've been installing that, and I'm like, oh, this is so easy for one, and two, like this is it. It's hard to understate how good emulation on a good device is. And like, because like you guys are talking about the Amernics are fine. I have one myself.
Right.
I think they're good, but like you play them, it's like this feels fine. But then you play it on like an Analog Pocket or like a Steam Deck or something like that that has an expensive feel to it.
Yeah,
it's like, this actually, it does feel like, it doesn't feel like I bought something at the mall kiosk. It feels like this is an actual device meant to do these things.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. You know what football always reminds me of, actually? Disney adults.
No.
I feel like football fans, can be very hyper obsessive, just like Disney adults can be.
Cosplaying as their favorite players. Yeah, totally.
Exactly. Speaking as a semi-Disney adult myself, I'm recovering. I'm trying my best, folks. But when a game like Disney Dreamlight Valley comes out, Jesus H. Christ.
Even the shot collar can't keep him away from it. So you've been getting rid of this, Jan, is my understanding.
Yes.
Gosh, Jan! Come inside our kingdom, Jan!
There's enough weird stuff in it that I think I might see a Keyblade. I might see a Keyblade in this game. For folks that don't know, Disney Dreamlight Valley is the game where you can potentially play as someone super caked up and just watch that thing go for hours. Sorry, folks, if that is at all offensive. I just can't help myself.
We need the PSVR haptics in there. There we go. Call back, everybody.
But this is an Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley like type of game. So you're farming, you're crafting, you're cleaning up your village. And in place of having Tom Nook dealing out a bunch of money and running a store, you have Scrooge McDuck. And instead of a bunch of different villagers, you have various Disney characters. Currently, Goofy will creepily hover over me as I am fishing. Mickey Mouse is obsessed that Minnie is gone, and he won't shut up about fruit salad and crackers, like saltine crackers. And I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Did it write Mickey is like the oldest man alive? Like
It's all my
be.
digestive system can handle.
So it's weird because like the story of that game is like, oh, our former leader is missing, and like very clearly you are the former leader, but like nobody remembers who it is, and it's so weird to me that Mickey Mouse is not the former leader of Disneyland.
Yeah,
like it feels like
Are you telling me that Dreamlight Valley has the same plot as KOTOR? Like that's wild.
Yes.
That's neat. All right.
Goofy is constantly calling you a meatbag. He's telling you like you need to eliminate all humans.
Fair,
Grub and I recorded a quick look this morning. It'll come out tomorrow. And a thing I noticed though is when you first meet Goofy, his house is covered up in like these black thorns that only you can get rid of. And then he talks, gosh, I've been inside for years now. I can't remember what the outside world looks like. And then I am thinking like in my head, I'm like, is this Disney addressing COVID? Is this them talking about this?
Wow.
It's an Anthony Fauci simulator. You're out there, just take care of the thorns outside of people's homes.
I was gonna go Grey Gardens with it, but no one that listens to this will understand that reference. So.
Goofy's an anti-vaxxer. He just chose not to leave the house. He just comes out. He's like, "Gosh, it's just the flu."
And then, like, I'm I'm just continually surprised by the game because
That's cool.
the cynicist in me is just expecting this to be like a cash grab or like
Right.
for there to be a bunch of energy timers and whatnot. I've been playing for about 2+ hours. I continue to play after Grub and I wrapped.
Yeah.
And it's just like a fun type of farming game if you're into those. I'm not normally. Yes, Imran.
It does get a little aggressive with the monetization. Like sometimes it will just pop up a menu saying, "Hey, you could buy these costumes if you want.
Yes.
Do you want your rats to look like the Incredibles? Like you can do that."
Yeah.
And like
it knows who it's talking to, and that
Yes.
will work. It's not trying to stop you from playing. It's trying to make you feel like, well, you're playing. You probably want to look as much like your favorite characters as possible. So I mean,
yeah.
I guess then it's like the least evil or the least annoying of the two paths. But yeah, you're right. It's definitely that's gonna amp up over time as they hone in on the people who are actually gonna stick around with this game for months at a time.
Yes.
Right. It's absolutely a game meant for Disney. Like you can't make a kid in that game. You have to make an adult as your character. So they know who they're going for. And like that makes it a little bit better that they're not trying to take advantage of kids, I feel like.
Sure.
But it's a Gameloft game who largely that they just make mobile games that it feels like it sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's
It's like what if Ubisoft was thrown into the vat of ooze from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with like a phone, and then what came out, you're gonna get
Well,
Game
they are a Gimeo, or they were a Gimeo company. Like they were just like they were Ubisoft's little mobile brother, basically.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. The last thing I'll say about this game, besides that it has its hooks in me, and it hurts me deep inside, is that it will 100% hook in every and any Disney adult because they have like these little things in there, like the Spirit jerseys that Disney fans are big fans of, the small Loungefly backpacks that I had no idea was a booming industry. If you think that there are people that obsess over Funko Pops, there is a different side of the world that is obsessed over Disney branded themed Loungefly bags. They're like the teensy ones that you can only put a sandwich in.
Sure.
It's just absolutely wild.
Okay. Really?
Yes. Because my character has a
you
Loungefly
can put
bag.
so much Dole Whip in one of these bags. Let me tell you.
Oh my god, I would fill up that bag with Dole Whip, even though it's just pineapple soft serve.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I will say that game knows how to hit you because let's take Kingdom Hearts as an example of like a counterexample of Disney nostalgia.
Yes.
I think Kingdom Hearts does a very good job with like the character models. Everyone in this game looks like they're wearing costumes, but like Kingdom Hearts doesn't have necessarily all the Disney music. And I think this game, that's where this game really succeeds, is that like when you're cooking with Remy, it plays the music from Ratatouille, which is like, oh, that's so like I love Ratatouille. I think it's a fantastic game or movie. And like the music, I can't talk about things that are not video games apparently. But like when you're in your home and you're just playing music on the radio, like Moana music plays. It does all that stuff so well. And granted, that's just like, hey, we own this shit, so we might as well use it.
Right.
But it does. Even if you're not a Disney adult, if you have Disney nostalgia in some form, just from like, I liked this movie, it still does a decent job of just like tickling that part of your brain really well.
Right.
Yeah. I will not stand for the erasure of Max Goof though. Goofy has a son. God damn it. If Goofy's gonna watch me fish, let him do the perfect cast dance. Jesus Christ.
There are like dozens of doors, like the door where you got Remy, or where you're getting Remy. I don't know if you've actually succeeded in getting him yet, but where you're getting him, right next to that door are like 24 other doors ready to be filled in with more content. There's going to be a Goof Troop event and stuff like that where you're going to be like, oh, that stuff will come to your town, and then you can go get those characters permanently and add them to your village. It is like a very good... it is the right mobile mutation of Animal Crossing and Stardew Valley in a lot of smart ways.
Yeah, I can't.
If you, I was gonna say, if you liked or didn't feel Animal Crossing because you didn't feel like it gave you enough structure or quests, this is absolutely the game for you, because it does all that maybe to a fault, but it tells you what to do, where to go, and how to improve. So every day you have like a thing, you have a list of things to do.
Yeah.
Do you think I'll be able to like do community service with Gordon Bombay after he got that DUI?
I hope so. There's a frozen area, you know?
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, I can't wait for the day where I team up with Steve Rogers because he just wants me to make like banana bread with him, And it's like, I remember this recipe that Bucky shared with me back when we were young. Speaking about Captain America, Tinykin.
Oh yeah,
Jeff Grubb, John, y'all have been playing some Tinykin.
Tinykin's got his hooks in me. Big time.
Yeah, it's the one that was it's good on the Steam Deck, right? Every time I powered on my Steam Deck to play something, I'm like, oh, my Tinykin game is still going. Screw everything else. I'm gonna play this.
Just play it.
And yeah, I'll just play Tinykin. I'm getting near the end now. I think I've got the last of the Tinykin, which are the Pikmin equivalents. We've talked about this the last couple of weeks. I just kind of wanted to put a cap on it from my perspective. It continues to be very, very good. It doesn't wear out its welcome. I kind of like, oh man, I hope they do more with this pretty soon and expand on these ideas. And I think they could do a Tinykin 2 easily. It is just really well done, and the levels just they remain interesting, and they tie back in, they like loop back into each other in some interesting ways. We're like, oh, now I can get to this area through here, and this is where I was earlier, and that feels like this cohesive house you actually are exploring. It's really well done.
Yeah, I feel like Tinykin is every single time a 3D platformer comes out, I'm always like, man, Nintendo kind of got this thing right, like in 96, and kind of nobody else has really kind of got it. Tinykin doesn't feel like Mario 64 to me, but it feels good. Like it feels good as a platformer to me, and that's pretty rare. And I love the little mechanics that you get. It reminds me a little bit of Super Mario Odyssey in the sense that like you're really just you're collecting these kind of power-ups and can do a lot of stuff, and it's not super skill intensive. It's kind of a zone out experience for me, but I found myself just losing a long time to kind of completionist mentality going through this stuff, but it's not completionist in like a super aggro way. It's hard to explain. It's just like it's a very delightfully designed game, and it's easily on my top 10 list this year.
I agree completely with what you're saying about the I go to these indie platformers expecting to have them recapture some of the magic I got from Mario 64 and some of the later Mario's Odyssey and stuff like that. I was about to say Sunshine, but Galaxy stuff like, and it's like, okay,
you meant to say Sunshine. Go ahead and say Sunshine.
And Mario Sunshine.
I will say Sunshine nostalgia is at an all-time high. If you've played Splatoon 3 single player, you know what I'm talking about. But like Mario Sunshine's coming back, and I hate that game. It's coming back in a big way.
Yeah, it's gonna come back. It's I go play the indie like takes on these ideas. Hat in Time, a bunch of others. I mean, Ukulele. None of them work for me at all. And even the ones that are like are fun, like Hat in Time is like it's okay, fun. But it's not. It's not Tinykin. Tinykin is on the level of a Nintendo platformer to me. So it's gonna be like I'm gonna put it in the pantheon of that genre in a way that I just have not done with many other non-Nintendo platformers. So that's very exciting. Where I'm like, oh, we've gotten here. We've finally arrived. Finally.
And for the 4 people that are listening to the show that have ever played Toy Commander on Dreamcast, you should play Tinykin.
Those 4 people just stood up in their chairs and started applauding.
I'm telling you, there are a few. We're out there. The Toy Commander perverts on Dreamcast. Like, it's not a game that plays like this, but in terms of capturing the feeling of like being small in a real, bedroom or kitchen or whatever, there's something about that that's really good. And in the mid to late 90s, like Clockwork Knight, Toy Commander, this was a cool thing, and now Tinykin kind of enters that. Pantheon.
Little People, Big World games, they rule.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do you think
for sure
Nintendo at all saw the buzz that Tinykin had, and then it was like, "Fuck it, pull the Pikmin trigger."
We've been sitting in this thing for years. We have to finally we can't let Tinykin take our Pikmin market cachet, the massive Pikmin audience.
He's hidden in the mountains somewhere. Go get him and get Pikmin for him. Bring him with him.
They knocked on Miyamoto's door. They're like, get your shirt press out. You got to make a new shirt. You specifically, Shigeru Miyamoto, need to make a new shirt, and then, we can introduce Pikmin 4. I mean, I think so. And it also, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Bowser's Fury in the sense that, it's a small experience.
Yes.
And it's like, Jeff said it doesn't overstay its welcome. I'm 37. I used to like roll my eyes when people would say stuff like this because I used to be one of those people that's like, no, I want to play Witcher 3 until I'm dead in the ground. At some point, I'm like, no, I got to move on to other shit. And this is just one of those great games. It's
5 to 10 hours, and 10 hours is if you're 100% in everything. Yeah, it's not like a short hike, which is actually another indie platform I do really like. But that one's like 45 minutes, so like, I kind of don't count it. It's its own thing. But yeah, I'm really really happy with Tinykin.
Yeah.
Something I hope to be happy with is Street Fighter 6. And Imran, you had the opportunity to check this out. I don't actually know this about you. Are you a fighting game scientist?
No, well, okay. I'm a fighting game scientist in the same way that like people who go on the internet and say I do my own research are scientists. Like I really like fighting games. I love playing them, but I'm bad at them. Okay. And like it was not until like Street Fighter, even though I have played every Street Fighter from 2 through 4, it wasn't until I decided to get good at 4 that I actually like sat down and was like, oh, that's how you would do a Hadouken. Like the idea of button commands just completely, that was when I shut down with video games. Mm-hmm. So like when I tried to learn how to do it, I was like, oh, this is actually not that bad. It's not hard to execute.
Uh-huh.
And I think the problem I always had was I decided I was never going to be like competition level. And then I was like, what's the point? If I'm not going to be like good enough to like fight Daigo, then what's the point of even playing? And at some point I just realized
school.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Like,
if I can't do
I'm not going to get an
stuff,
A,
whatever.
then like an F's just as good. But like I realize it's fun to play with people around your skill level. And that the thing I really like about fighting games, and this is a thing that's probably going to like factor into Project L, that upcoming like League of Legends fighting game, is I like the mind games aspect of it a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think that is what I really, really dig about these competition games, like not even just fighting games in general, but like Overwatch and Splatoon and all that. I like the fact that I can psych someone out by doing something real stupid and weird. It is that the end of every 90s sports movie of what if we just try X? Yeah. Yep. What if we just try, like, what if we put Bill Murray on the team, and then that would make us help us beat the Monstars. And like that to me
is the goalie come out and shoot the puck. What?
Yeah. That's how I like to apply to like Street Fighter and all that too. So I have played Street Fighter 6 at this point roughly 4 times between the various preview events. Every single time I walk away from that game, I am convinced that even in a year coming up with like Starfield and Tears of the Kingdom and all a bunch of possibly generation or game of the generation worthy titles, Street Fighter 6 might be a dark horse for Game of the Year next year, because holy shit, it feels and plays so well. It
looks great.
Every single time I play it, they have to drag me away because I just want to keep playing it more and more. Like
they're putting so much shit into this game.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like I am blown away by these early showcases of what they're putting in this game. And it seems like a direct response, obviously, to Street Fighter V launching with fucking nothing. Like that seems to be a direct conversation. It's like I'm super jazzed about the world tour mode. The game itself just looks amazing. I don't know.
Yeah. So I had an interview with the director and producer Nakayama and Matsumoto, and they did not work on the beginning of Street Fighter V. They didn't say directly like, "Hey, we thought that it sucked at the beginning," but they came in. They came in later, and they were like, "Okay, we're gonna fix this game to make it work." And even through that process, they learned a lot of lessons in terms of what to do to make a game like Street Fighter fit the audience, as opposed to trying to make the audience come around to whatever they're doing. And that's the logic with 6 is if we have an open dialogue with the audience, if it is open communication, if we try and make the game that they want to play versus making them play the game we want to make, is they make a better thing in the end. And I think that's where 6 comes in, because I'm not like you said, I'm not a fighting game scientist. I can't pinpoint exactly what it is that makes that game feel so good. But I have very recently played Street Fighter V, and I went from 5 to 6. it feels better. It feels like
Nice.
everything is reacting to you as opposed to like you're controlling a marionette. And I played two builds actually. The build I played on the first day was it had Jory and Kimberly, who both are cool. They're good characters. I enjoy playing as them. And then the next build had Ken. And I used to be a Ken main. Ken in this game feels better than I've ever felt Ken play.
Oh wow.
And I can't, like, as I was playing as him, I was like, this feels like my old character, but it also feels like there's a level of depth here that
Right.
I could like swim in this lake and still not find the bottom for hours. And I can't wait for this game to come out. I can't wait for them to show off more characters. I can't wait for them to like do more with it. Because from playing that game, from talking to them, from like just the preview videos they've got, that thing oozes style. They know it oozes style, and they know it like it has the gameplay to back it up.
They're in their bag. It's
yeah,
cool. Yeah.
I think so. One of the stories I was working on before Fanbyte closed off was Capcom they were very afraid with how badly Street Fighter V did and how good it seems like Project L, or how influential it seems Project L was going to be and how much of an audience it should capture by being a free-to-play fighting game. They are very afraid that is going to take the case, like the main event of fighting games in the fighting game community. So they know they cannot miss with Street Fighter 6. They know this game has to fucking hit. Otherwise, they could lose everything they've built up to this point.
100%.
I legitimately think they're going to do it. I think this game is going to be... I think this game might end up being on the top of most people's favorite Street Fighter list.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I can't name a single thing about Street Fighter V other than its abysmal launch. But then even checking it out at Summer Game Fest earlier this year, it's like, wow, this is dripping swagoo right now, right?
Yeah,
like, even just like the animations, the walk up to the matches and everything, and like the weird being able to move their faces.
Yeah, their facial expressions are really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, sorry, go ahead, Imran.
I was gonna say the walk-ups are very, very cool because they all have like their own individual personalities. Like Ken looks downtrodden. He looks like he's trying to hide himself because he is like legitimately trying to hide himself. Meanwhile, Jory is like shit talking whoever she's walking with the entire way.
Oh,
like
man.
it is such a good, like, that is the thing so many fighting games get wrong of, oh, we have the character, but we don't have the personality to really show it off, except for like intro and outros. This one, every step of the way, it shows you who these characters are.
I can't wait. And I don't know, I just enjoy like the small it's big, but it can be construed as small. Like the design changes to like Chun-Li to actually de-anglicize her and make her more appropriate and everything.
When's the beta for this coming out? This is a closed beta coming up next month?
October 7th to 10th, I think?
Yes.
Something like that? Yeah.
You can sign up now. Last time I tried to sign up, they did not have, like, I asked for an email, like, well, I don't know my Capcom ID, please tell me. And they never sent me an email. So hopefully that is fixed now.
You just tell me my Capcom ID. Yeah.
God, that's the second time I've heard movie phone reference in the last 3 weeks. Okay.
Movie phone, it's coming back, baby. Yep. Just like we're going all the way back to a different time period, it looks like, in Like a Dragon, Ishin. Ishin?
Yeah.
Ishin?
Ishin, I think.
Ishin.
That's the way they had said it. They like, so
we're going all the way back to the PlayStation 3.
The PlayStation 3. I saw a lot of people asking about this. Did my company strand me in Japan? No, because Sega flew me there. Sega flew me there to play this game.
Fantastic.
So don't worry about that. I got out of Japan fine. But so with that in mind, that Sega did fly me, they paid for my trip at my hotel. So grain of salt, ethical wine, all that jazz. I played this game. I was going there assuming the entire time I was going there to play Yakuza 8, Like a Dragon 8, which is now they title it officially for the series is Like a Dragon. They surprised me by announcing Like a Dragon Ishin. Ishin was a PS3 cross-gen title released in 2014, PS3, PS4, that is... The way I put it on Twitter is, imagine if they... Yeah, you ever see those like Animal Crossing videos where someone took the models of Animal Crossing and did Hamilton?
Yep. Unfortunately, I have.
This is
Unfortunately, I saw
that,
yeah.
essentially. They take the characters of the Like a Dragon series
Yeah.
and they put them in a historical play, essentially. They are playing new characters.
Oh no!
So
I'm more enticed as you keep talking.
so Kiryu, the guy, or Takuya Kuroda, the guy who plays Kiryu, is playing Sakamoto Ryoma, who is a very famous Edo period samurai ronin who huge nationalist, and also like essentially like ended feudalism.
Let's throw that out there.
Yeah, let's throw it out there. I'm not going to get into the machinations of Edo period Japanese politics because I'm not an expert, but he's very famous in Japanese history.
Okay.
And this game is about his father is killed by someone with a particular sword style. And the only people who practice that sword style are in the Shinsengumi, which, let's say the easiest comparison is like the elite cops. Like they are the top of the top in terms of police. So he takes a fake name, joins the Shinsengumi, and wants to solve the mystery of which one of these motherfuckers killed my father. And the game is essentially essentially a Like a Dragon game in terms of like side stories, open world, main stories, all that, of like following this story path. And then you get like options for wandering around the open world, doing side stories. Like, for example, I found one side story where there was a mother who was concerned because her son is the second born, so he can't be a samurai. So he's decided to just sit in his room and look at porn all day. And like you go into his room and like
dream.
Yeah.
You go to his room and it's the porn, like all the porn on the ground is like the ukiyo drawings of like a woman and like an octopus and all like that sort of thing.
Do any of them have like Disney ears or like mouse ears perhaps maybe? Because then that's
not that I noticed.
Oh, damn it.
But like
I love that tentacle porn goes way back.
you go there and you're talking to this guy's like, so what do you want to do? Do you want to get a job and like leave the house? And like your options are like just all your options are Ryoma like holding back from just punching this guy in the face because he's such a piece of shit.
You can cure cancer. I don't want to cure cancer. I want to stay in my room and look at porn all day.
And then
It's an art.
I did another quest where I met a school teacher who he's running a private school, and all the parents are like rich benefactors of the kids, and they donated a globe to the school. And he has never seen a globe before in his life. He does not know how to teach them how a globe like works. So Ryoma has seen one once in his life. His dad showed him one long time ago. So like the teacher like cajoles him to like come teach the class as quote unquote the teacher's apprentice.
Okay.
And you're like answering questions about geography, but they're questions from like the 19th century. So like they'll point to an island and be like, what island is this? And like it is Britain. You can tell it is Britain, but it is like largely outsized. It is way too big because they don't have a good sense of what the world looks like, at least in Japan. So it like you have to go, okay, I'm pretty sure that's Britain. And then like a kid calls you out like, okay, but who, like Britain and what? So there's like, oh, Britain Island, it's the United Kingdom. Like you have to know a little bit about it. Like you're not gonna like fuck up the game if you don't know. But it's this thing of you're helping this teacher eventually admit that he's a fraud to these students. And then he's like, could you still call me sensei even though I like tricked you? And the kids eventually agree like, yeah, we believe in you. So you didn't know this one thing. We just want to know the world is bigger than just Japan. And like it's that thing of like it's a heartwarming story.
Yeah, that's
like
shit.
the side story of like it's the Yakuza thing. And I have long heard that Ishin is the best game in the series. I have never gotten a chance to play it because it has never been in English.
Oh.
But now it is finally coming. Now, like from I was talking to Yokoyama, the studio head. Now, one of the reasons it's coming is that he saw how successful Ghost of Tsushima was, and it was made by Americans. He was like, "Oh, Americans like old Japanese stuff, huh?" Which as Americans we get, but I guess if you're in Japan, you're like, "Oh, I didn't realize."
Ninja Turtles 3. Hello, we love that shit.
the most hated turtle. Like honestly, you see that you're like, oh, Americans must fucking hate us. Like they must hate old Japan. But like that's why they thought, okay, now is the time. This is the right time for this thing. So I am so excited to actually play this. It plays like an old Yakuza game. You have like a multiple fighting styles. There's like the sword. You can just use a gun. You can just like stand there and just like fucking cap a dude from like a distance. You can use a sword and gun style, or you can just use fists. And the sword and gun style, obviously the most fun. But like you also, because you are a captain of a team, of a squad, you can use your squad's powers. And one of them is just straight up like a Hadouken, and one of them is like gravity magic that brings all the enemies into one area. So you just like slash at them while they're like caught up in that thing. It's
historically accurate. I see.
Historically accurate. Like it is. And also there's like the heat actions. So there was a heat action where someone was just laying on the ground. So Ryoma just walked up to him, held the gun out, went. He said something like he said a very cool thing in Japanese, capped him, and then like walked away. Like it does everything Yakuza has always done well, but it does it in an old Japanese setting. And apparently, according to people who have played it, is the best story in the series.
Wow. This is where I'm like a little confused, because it's like it is bringing in characters from the other games, like Majima is in that trailer, right?
Yes.
And so So I would have thought it's like, oh, it's silly, goofy, fun hour nonstop. Oh, hello, kiddo. Oh, thank you so much. You brought me Skittles. But it is like a serious story, though, right?
Yeah. So like one of the quests I did, one of the main story quests was there's a serial killer on the loose. Ryoma knows this killer. They've crossed paths many times. So this killer has killed several people in the Shinsengumi so far. So Ryoma does eventually beat him because, like Kiryu, he is a once-in-a-generation fighting talent. And he ends up defeating him, and he's just like, okay, we're about to take him in. And then one of the other Shinsengumi is like, okay, we're just going to fucking kill this guy. And Ryoma's like, what? No, we are taking him in. This is not a revenge mission. We are police. We bring people in, and it's a dramatic, long drawn out scene of them like arguing over this, and eventually Ryoma winning the argument. I don't know where it goes from there, but like as like most Yakuza main stories, it is a crime drama at its heart.
Right.
And
awesome. Okay.
Cool.
It's very cool. It looks very good. It's using the Yakuza Like a Dragon Yakuza 7 models. So it looks good. They are bringing in music from old series. So like they use the I want to say Yakuza 0 intro in the trailer, and they are like they are bringing in they're recasting a lot of characters. Part of that is because some of them have like been busted for drugs and they can't use them anymore, and like some of them they're just like straight up recasting. But
cool
it is
about that in Japan. I don't know what you're talking about.
Cool.
It's only half in the series. It's fine. But they're reacting with a lot of new actors. So it is it's a fresh new remake. It's very cool looking. As I am an RGG fan. It's very difficult for them to do something I dislike, but there are games in the series I don't like. This seems like something I'm really going to like, and I'm excited as hell for it to come out in February, I'm pretty sure, worldwide.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's it. It's exciting that this is actually happening, so I'm looking forward to getting in there and giving it a shot.
Very excited.
My timeline was freaking out, and I mean, listen, a Yakuza game where you try to figure out who killed your dad—that sounds like Shenmue to me. I'm in.
Oh my god!
Here we are.
I cannot wait to dive all the way into the story, which is unlike the game that I'm currently playing, because I don't give two F's about the story. The Diofield Chronicles. Boy, howdy.
Now, do you think you said the name right? Do you think you said the name?
I think Diofield, whichever. One's a JoJo character. Deo is like the thing they say in that one song. Oh, no, that's... it doesn't matter.
No, it's Deo. That's a Belafonte.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Diofield and I'm Chronicles. All right, there we go.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're telling me Square Enix did not name a game well? I don't.
Are they every Various Day Life? Is Square Various Day Life?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Is it a bad name?
Strategy, Octopath Traveler. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You got 2 words, and they feel awful to say. They're gonna name it
358 over 2 distance, dream drop distance, whatever.
Excuse me, Jeff Grubb. That is a masterpiece.
I will go right after that Kingdom Hearts horse shit.
I like Live Alive a lot.
The bouncer.
I like Live Alive a lot. I feel like they only remade that game because they're like, yeah, this name's gonna confuse people. Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
The Diofield Chronicles is a fantastic game. The game aspect of it, it is a strategy game, but it's not like a tactics game where you are putting people down on tiles and whatever. You are actively commanding folks to go to separate waypoints or attack people. You have a party of 4, and those 4 characters can be a variety of classes, whether you're a horseman, a sword person, a
man
magic
on a horse, man
on a horse.
Is a horse. Yes.
Who knows where the game could go at the very end?
Good point.
And like the combat,
Bojack out there just dropping out Bahamut's, yeah.
and like the gameplay loop, I've fallen in love with a whole lot. Like the combat missions are really well done. This is one of the rare instances where I don't mind an escort mission. And you would think with like a small, I guess, let's just say playset of these levels and missions where most of them are to defeat all the enemies. A lot of them will wind up having you either splitting up your party strategically or having you try and completely annihilate a smaller group of dudes across your board only to go to the big set of dudes at the end. It's real interesting how they do this because I'm also so surprised it controls really well doing like an RTS-ish adjacent style game with a controller. So you can select all your units, you can select specific different units and just have them hit different waypoints to bide up their time as they go and attack specific enemies. Everyone has a different set of abilities as well. And they synergize off of each other really, really well. I love the Final Fantasy Tactics games. I think I've said that multiple times across this whole dang website. But my biggest gripe is that it takes forever to feel like the action is impactful and that you feel good doing it. Here, an hour or so in, I felt like I was an absolute boss, just annihilating through these different missions and everything. The downside is that all the other trappings of the game very underbaked. Like the character portraits are in that same Final Fantasy style, like I don't even know what to call it, but like that same style, and like the voice acting is also really well done. It's just like the story and like the hub area, I don't care. It's like a bad Fire Emblem, 3 houses.
It's kind of funny you say that because the writer for the game, who's like, she came over here to write this game essentially, was the writer for what I think are maybe the 2 worst written Fire Emblem games, which is Awakening and Fates.
Oh boy.
So that is, I think, what you're describing in terms of like splitting up squads is like what I love about Fire Emblem, especially older Fire Emblem with like the battles were harder and longer. But like, also the story has always been a concern for me because Yu Oshima is the writer who is like not a bad writer. She's done other stuff, but it does not seem. It seems like this is going to be in line with those 2 Fire Emblem games she wrote.
Yeah, I don't want to poo-poo the story. It's just it hasn't grabbed me in a way that other JRPGs have over this past year, especially when you have something like Live Alive or Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Right.
The place where this game absolutely stands out is the combat. There's also these huge summons where you have Bahamut be like the what's the weapon in Gears of War?
The Finger of God or whatever.
Glory
of
the hammer.
The big laser beam.
Hammer
from
of
space.
Dawn.
Yeah.
Hammer of Dawn.
Yes.
You have Bahamut just like laying waste to a group of dudes, and he just like casually is like, "What's up, y'all? All right, I'm out." And then he dips out, and it's great. I want to play more of it. And the other neat thing is you can absolutely fast forward through combat. So if you have someone walking like the whole map and you know it's going to take forever, you can just fast forward through that bad boy and have them finally get up to speed. It's just the story that's a little bit of a bummer for me. If folks are interested in it, don't let me yuck your yums. But God, it is. I have no idea what's going on.
I wonder how well it'll do, especially with Engage being Fire Emblem Engage now being announced and coming out relatively soon.
Oh, sure.
It's one thing for that, because like that feels like a game that was greenlit on the back of probably previous Fire Emblem games doing well. But maybe like they were especially jazzed because of Three Houses doing so well that like it feels like that was the market Square Enix was trying to tap. That now is like incredible, not screwed because it obviously Engage is a Switch exclusive.
Going on there though,
there's a lot. It's pretty saturated.
Yeah, so I wonder if like people are going to go, well, I was going to get my fix, but Engage is coming out soon. But also, like I said, this is on pretty much everything as opposed to just Switch. So that could be the difference maker.
Yeah, this plays incredibly well on like the Steam Deck as well. There is a demo out, so if you're at all if the combat instances of this seemed to entice you at all, please check that out. You can engage with the story if you want, I guess. Grub, do you mind if we hit these two games you've been playing after the break?
Yeah, no problem at all.
All right, because the final segment of the games with an asterisk, because we'll talk about two more when we come back from the break. Instead of a game of the week, as soon as I type this out, we have Gamers of the Week.
Wow.
Imran Khan and John Warren. I'm just happy to have two of my favorite people on the internet on a podcast with me. It warms my dang heart.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I was just thinking Imran like pulling off the Hammer of Dawn. I'm like, oh, I should get him on my Jeopardy game so he can try to beat me and Mike Minotti. Because no one's beaten us yet. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to talk to you about that. So we're going to make that
We
happen.
had like trivia games at the Game Informer podcast that Ben Hansen used to host. I have undefeated in that because
there we go.
Wow.
Nobody could come close.
Mike's won the last 2 weeks, maybe longer than that. So I need someone to come in and help ruin his streak for sure.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. I love being on Giant Bomb, and I love talking to y'all.
Yeah.
Imran, you had a certain thing that you were slightly teasing on your Twitter account for folks that don't have Twitter. Would you like to drop that as one of this week's Gamers of the Week?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this thing for a little while, especially like as things at Fanbyte were getting busy and I was getting less time to actually like play games and write about video games beyond just like writing news. And I was thinking, okay, what if I do a Patreon? And obviously that idea accelerated in the last week. I don't have a launch date to announce right now, but it'll probably be next week, if only because this weekend I'm getting engaged. And Hi, yes.
Wow. I love that. Reb will never fucking listen to this.
No, she won't listen to this. She will see our cat at the beginning and be like, ah, and then like that's it. But like, I next week I plan to launch a Patreon that is largely going to be like games writing, and hopefully, if we hit like certain thresholds, I want to be able to bring in some people from Fanbyte to like revive some of the old podcasts because I want to pay them for their work. I don't want to just do it. I want to make sure that everyone gets like paid for their things. But I do want to say that like I would love it if people who are fans of me and want to see the games writing I do, like if we could all do it as a collaborative effort together in a Patreon that I will hopefully launch next week. But stay tuned to my Twitter at ImranZUMG for actual timing and announcement of that. But I really wanted to announce it here on Giant Bomb because like Giant Bomb's always been very supportive of me. Like I cut my teeth like watching this site for years. Alex gave me one of my first big breaks and letting me do a game of the year list here. I was able to be on like Unprofessional Fridays before. Like I love this site. I love this community. I think that if we were like, we could all do very good work together. And I don't think the experiment of Fanbyte of if we do good work long enough, people will come was wrong. I think we didn't get enough time to do it. So hopefully we can keep that running through my Patreon and whatever else everyone at Fanbyte is going to keep doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
I'll
be there day one.
Day 30 after the Patreon asks me if I still want to be a patron the next month over, I'll still be there.
Credit card expires. I will still be there. Yeah.
Exactly. Take that, Truebill. And with that, we'll see y'all after this break. They're great. They're great. They're great. Use the service. It's good. Now a word from our sponsor. Sometimes we get too into the weeds and we're focusing on the minutia, or we get too bogged down with problems instead of trying to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. A therapist can really help you contextualize or find solutions to get to the bigger picture, y'all. I highly suggest trying therapy. Even being able to unload your baggage on someone that isn't in your day-to-day life can be super freeing. And it is just plain good to get those feelings off of your chest so you can contextualize them, y'all. If you've been therapy curious, BetterHelp is a great option in pursuing that. Plus, it's all online, y'all, so you don't have to visit an office, and it is affordable. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/bombcast today to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/bombcast. When it comes to hiring, you need to trust your gut. But what if you could give your gut some help? When you want to find top talent fast, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you could do it all with Indeed. Find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. Hate waiting? Indeed's US data shows over 80% of Indeed employers find quality candidates whose resume on Indeed matches their job description the moment they sponsor a job. You know, one of the dopest things about Indeed is that Indeed is doing all of the work for you. You sponsor the job, and boom, Instant Match shows you the candidates whose resumes on Indeed fit your job description immediately after you post. With Indeed Instant Match, you can start hiring super fast. Join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. Indeed knows that when you're doing everything for your company, you can't afford to overspend on hiring. Visit Indeed.com/bomb to start hiring now. Just go to Indeed.com/bomb. Indeed.com/bomb. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. You know what crayon I could never find in like the 64 Crayola pack was Flesh.
Right.
Yeah. You know, Flesh. I would go with like a peach, but then I'd have to add like a little bit of tan for me. Imran could probably speak to this as well. When you'd have to like use crayons to draw yourself, it was a little harder. But
it's so
I simply remember,
they named a white crayon Flesh. That's awful.
I remember my teachers being like, "Hey," because we were doing like those little color in things of like yourself to pin up on the thing, and like the teacher saying, "Just use the Flesh color." I was like, "This doesn't look right." Like, but,
and I was always looking for the 2% milk to draw myself, and I was just like,
I found mine mayonnaise. There we go.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me of the one time we had to do an exercise similar to that in elementary school, and then my friend, who was very fair-skinned, just turns, as soon as he gets like the little template of like the character, he gives it back to the teacher. I'm like, I'm done. It's me already.
What a good bit. That's great.
Oh, man. I hope that guy's okay now. Yeah, man. Jesus. Jeff Grubb, we got a couple games still to talk about before we get into the news. One of those being a stealth drop from yesterday, Hyper Demon.
Yeah, this is the follow-up to Devil Daggers, and it's a lot like Devil Daggers if it was on like 10 times as much PCP. It is out there. It's like a Jeff Minter game that has like on some sort of bad trip. It's really, really good. It has so much going on that I have not quite cracked it yet. I did a quick look with Dan this morning, and we are both sort of overwhelmed by everything you could do. There's a huge long tutorial where, there's bunny hopping, and you could shoot the ground to get up in the air, and then you can stomp the ground, and you can shoot these diamonds, and they'll create little pickups, and then you can either stop shooting, and those diamonds will get absorbed into you, or you can hold down the right button, suck in those diamonds, and then fire them out as laser beams. Or if you have those laser beam powers, you can aim at the floor, and then that'll auto lock on to people around here, and you could take them out, and it's just so overwhelming. Basically, what you're doing is, though, you are shooting enemies as they come flying towards you, just like an arcade arena shooter sort of thing. The big difference here between Devil Daggers and what's happening here is you start at like 10 or 15 seconds. That's your score. And as soon as you start playing, it begins counting down. And every time you kill an enemy, it adds more time to your clock. And when you die, you want to have as much time on the clock as possible. This is very challenging at the start. You are going to end up in negative time. You're going to end up 3, 4, 10 seconds maybe. And sometimes you go 10 seconds because you die right away, and that'll be your best score. And then you'll go and you'll play for a really long time because you're surviving, and you'll die just of chrono death is what they call it, when you get like to negative 64 because it's just you avoided combat enough that you just did poorly. It's weird, but you can also immediately go watch any replay on the leaderboard, and you can see how some people are playing and how they are stringing stuff together.
Yeah.
And they are speaking another language. They are playing another game than what I'm playing right now. And it is intimidating and inspiring, and I kind of want to at least understand a few more of the mechanics. Like right now it's like, okay, I should probably be using that stomp a little bit more than it's just so hard to, like, the guys are flying right at you. I'm like, I'm going to look down at the ground and shoot it with the shotgun and try to jump up and see if that's going to, be possible. By the time I look up, I'm like, I'm going to be so disoriented. And that's the whole name of the game. It is one of the most disorienting looking games you will ever see. And that's it's to its credit. It's an incredible look. It's an incredible vibe.
Wow.
I love what it, like, some of the best like effects of like when an enemy gets behind you or gets in your peripheral vision, you will begin to see flashing of them in like this red Virtual Boy sort of style. And it's just letting you know there's shit happening behind you. You need to know about that. And it's like informative while also completely committing to the style at the same time.
Wow,
and then
that's cool.
You'll pick up a power up and you'll fire it as like a Kamehameha, and that'll cause time to slow down.
Like in Fortnite?
Like in Fortnite.
Like in Fortnite, exactly. Like the game Fortnite that invented the Kamehameha. And then, like, as you fire, it's like the world visuals will warp, time is warping, and I'm just like looking around like, I honestly don't know even what I'm looking at anymore.
Yeah.
And if that sounds aggressive, it is, and it rules. It's so cool. I'm in a very small leaderboard chase with Mary Kish and Dan Reichert, and I think we're going to go back and forth until we start to actually understand how it works.
I watched some videos today, and I could not like figure out what I was looking at.
You're not going to be able to parse it until you play it.
It was that scene of The Simpsons where Milhouse starts up Bone Storm and like it's just blowing his hair back. I don't have any hair to do that. It was like I literally just didn't know, like, is this a video game or is this like a mixer, or like did I load up Winamp? Like, I don't understand what is happening.
My God.
It really is one of the most difficult to parse games ever, just on the visual side. And yet, once you get into it, it's like, for the most part, I'm getting it. But I know that I need to be pairing the mechanics with what I'm looking at so that I can... My brain is not even... I'm not actively playing it. I'm just reacting in the way I need to be reacting. And so I'm at that hurdle right now. I think I'm going to be able to get over it, especially trying to catch up to Dan. That'll be the encouragement I need. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. And then the other game you got, Grub, you've returned to the Monkey Island.
I've returned to something I've never really been to before. So we did another quick look for this. I've never played many point-and-click adventure games. Definitely never played the Monkey Island games. So I kind of went in from that angle to see if this is something I can enjoy. And I think after all this time, they are very confident in like how to pull one of these off. And it's good writing. I think it does look really great. I know there was all that hubbub about the art. I think it looks really great. And the characters are really charming, and the puzzles are fun, and it's just got had really good pacing to the action and what you were doing, and I think that's really what gave me the confidence that I actually probably would enjoy this. I think when I get bogged down in something is when I might bounce off, but as long as like things feel like they're moving, and I'm piecing together the jokes with the puzzles and with the character moments, and they're all kind of happening in a chain, one after the other, and one leads into the other. It's like, oh, because of this joke, now you know how to do this puzzle. If they keep up that pace, I think it's the kind of game where I'll stick with it and actually see it through, and then I might go back to the older Monkey Island games and check it out. But that quick look is up now. Yeah,
I started to play that this morning because I'm a big point and click person. I always thought the Monkey Island games, the puzzle design was like a little obtuse.
Okay.
And so like I'm still kind of waiting to see if the puzzle design of this game is better. But I will say something they do really well is they did really cool tutorials. They teach you how to skip dialogue by having you listen to a little girl explain the history of anchors.
Yes,
and you just kind of zone out and like fall asleep. And then when you come to, the game's like, hey, by the way, if you miss something, you can tab through the dialogue in case you didn't miss something. You missed something that you actually need to know. And so there's like a playfulness to the way that they kind of reintroduce.
Do you think there's an achievement if you don't skip through all that dialogue?
I would imagine so.
I did. I'm not never gonna get that shit.
I'm not gonna do it, but it's like but it's like there's definitely a confidence to the way that they designed this, which like is almost shocking after like a 35 whatever year old absence to something. So like that it's kind of cool. I think it looks beautiful, and it's I kind of forgotten that came out today or whatever, and then I was like, oh, okay, crap, I'll download it now and check it out. And then it's I'll definitely go back to it. I love point and clicks. Their time has passed in so many ways, but they if you can kind of do some new stuff with it, I think there's still some life left in this, and this is definitely a great one to sink back into.
Yeah, it's like if you're nailing the jokes and the voice acting and stuff like that, that goes a long way. And this game definitely has all of that sort of no problem. It is like table stakes for this game, and then everything else kind of feels like, oh, they really polished this up to be the best version of what it is. It is not trying to be something else. It just is still that thing, and it's a very good one of those.
Yeah, I think the horse armor thing, like the DLC, is a good tone setter, because it is a thing of like, this is a joke that Ron Gilbert has been holding on to for 16 years.
For a very long time.
Yeah. He had just been waiting for like someone to go, okay, let's talk about that. I can make a game now to make a joke about a thing that people cared about in 2005 and then never again.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And like that is Monkey Island. That is that game, and like I've done some preview stuff for it. Like that is that game to a T. Is hey, yeah, we didn't do stuff for 2 decades, but we're doing it now, and we learned some things and we didn't learn some things, and we're making that game for the people who also want to go back to that time.
Yeah, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Mystery Science Theater. It is like it has its own very specific sense of humor. It is still doing the same thing it's been doing for a very long time. It's got a pleasant tone to it. It's got a little bit of we will make jokes referencing anything, like all the way up to like the most highest mindest art.
Do not give a shit that it will go over your head. If
it goes over your head, or it's the basis stuff, the thing that everyone will get, the joke that everyone's like is in their head, and they'll do that one too. And so it's like, okay, this might actually be way more my vibe than I ever first gave it credit for.
I think that's a great comparison. Yeah.
I'm not normally a point and click type of guy, but y'all might be selling me on this, and that is news to me, just like it is time for Jeff Grubb to deliver the news.
Let's do it.
I mean, not just on your own shoulders, Jeff Grubb. We'll also chime in about the news. We will also talk to you about this.
I appreciate
as well.
That.
You know,
because I want your thoughts on Rockstar got hacked, GTA 6 data stolen. There a lot happened in the story, and yet I boiled it down to these points. Let's just go through it, and then we'll discuss it. 90 videos containing over 50 minutes of footage of the next Grand Theft Auto appeared online on Sunday morning. It was on the GTAforums.com website. The leaker then posted on the GTA forums that they are looking to negotiate a deal with Rockstar. This is a threat to leak more data, including potentially, if we can believe the leaker, the source code for GTA 5 and 6, as well as a test build for 6. Rockstar began nuking the videos with DMCAs. It then confirmed the leak with a statement. The company said it was extremely disappointed that this happened, yada, 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 but most importantly said, or claims, that this leak will not affect the projects that it's working on now and won't cause any delays. The videos show some early gameplay of male and female protagonists engaging in various forms of familiar Grand Theft Auto open world gameplay. The one that was most stand out to me is the female protagonist in a diner with a gun, robbing the place and sort of interacting with people, kind of bringing some of those Red Dead Redemption, like you can do more than just shoot people. You can threaten them with a gun, and then you have some options. Seems like they're building on that. And then most recently, Uber, who had a similar hack is reaching out to the FBI and the U.S. Justice Department with the belief that the same person that hacked them is hacking Rockstar, and now they want to work together to like find this person. Listen, games come out. People are working on games all the time. We saw more of this than we would typically see.
Sure.
I understand that the developers are pretty frustrated by that. As long as the source code, if the source code gets out there, that is going to be a big problem, because that enables it, makes it easier to build hacks and stuff like that. As it stands right now, I could kind of believe them that maybe this won't cause a major delay, and we just saw some gameplay, and we'll move on from this. But I don't know, Imran, what's your take?
So this is a multifaceted thing. This is not one of those situations that has like a single black and white like answer. It's neither like completely bad or completely good, honestly. Like it is, I think this is kind of the natural head of where we've been going for the last like 20, 30 years of we cannot show games in development because the audience will not understand that games take a while to build. And there absolutely have been people that have seen this footage and gone, oh, this looks bad. Like I saw the fucking Galaxy Brain take of someone saying, actually, graphics are the first thing game developers do. The game is going to look like this. Which is
wow.
That is not at all how this works. This is very clearly early. Like the game, even the times we first see a game are usually not how the game is going to look at the end of it, because like what we usually see the first time is like a mock-up essentially. And like people don't even really understand that, because we are such a hype-driven, pre-order-driven, marketing-driven industry that when we reveal a game, we have to reveal it in the best possible way so we can get the most possible pre-orders at X time and for Y number. And like, this was not great for the developers. This was, I understand how frustrating it can be to work on this thing and want to show it on your terms, to have it stolen under you, and to like have like these people clowning on it because they don't understand how this works. I also think this is kind of like a natural consequence of where we've been taking this industry for so long, that we're treating it like everything needs to be we're treating it as if the final result is the way it should have looked the entire time all along. And that is a completely like childish view of the way not just game development works, but creation in general works, and creativity works. I can tell you the thing I write first is not the thing that gets published, because it needs to go through so many like iterations and edits, and like I probably put a wrong word. I remember back in Game Informer, Elise Favis once came to me is like, hey, did you forget to put a word here? And like my initial thing was defensive of like, of course not. And I was like, oh wait, yes I did. And like that's like anything. You make something and it's not perfect when you first put it out, and people should get that. People should get that when you see like the leaked footage of a set in a movie, that's not what the movie's gonna look like. It's gonna be on a camera that is pre-viz. Like there's stuff down the line for it.
I remember there were like candid shots of like Robert Pattinson in the Batsuit in Chicago that people were just like, I don't want to see this. Like this isn't going to look anything like this when you actually watch the movie.
Yeah,
games are the same way. The demystification of game development has to happen.
Yeah,
it has to happen.
Yeah,
not like
this.
It
is happening a little bit, right?
It is happening with early access
the last
stuff.
Two EA announcements.
EA has been great.
Skate and Dead Space. There's been multiple Dead Space events where they're just like, hey, we're going to show you our tools and how we're using it to improve the sound stuff. And here is Skate early, way early, and you could see it. It's unfinished. Look at how unfinished it is. And there were still some of those takes. This looks bad. But there was much more like, they explained it was early. Cool. Now I understand that. I actually don't want to look like a jackass out there saying I understand what's happening here when I clearly don't. So most people were just like, thank you for showing us this. It feels like it's changing. It also feels like, of course, the last studio that is going to change with that stuff is probably Rockstar.
Sure.
Probably. Yeah.
I think
there's like. Oh,
go
sorry. Go ahead, Jan.
No. You're a guest.
So like, it's not helped that the fact that like there's zero standardization in this sort of thing. So like you have Guerrilla that like I think with Forbidden West they put out footage that was clearly like ready to launch. Like that is that game. What that game was going to look like. They called it pre-alpha. or that might have been like the first Horizon Zero Dawn. But like that's not what pre-alpha footage will look like for anyone else.
No,
so when you see stuff like this, people are like, why doesn't this look like the thing that is something? Because there's no standardization of terms or like what a studio will call pre-alpha or alpha or whatever.
Right.
So it doesn't help that this is still a very nascent industry that doesn't know what it wants or how it wants to market things. And it's been so hijacked by the people with the money who need to sell things that we have an industry whose like standards are run by people who don't know how it works and are only want the best possible thing at every possible stage shown to them. I understand the reasoning. I understand people should be judicious about their money, but I also think that we can also be understanding about how things are made a bit better. And like you said, Grub, the source code that is uniformly terrible, that should not be leaking.
It's a big deal, right?
Yeah. I understand also developers can feel bad that this is not on their terms, but if any game is going to weather this, it's going to be the sequel to the most profitable piece of media of all time.
The game's going to be fine, like undoubtedly. And I think like I see devs online say it's such a shame that this didn't come out on our terms or whatever. And I respect that. I really respect that. And I sympathize and empathize. That game's not coming out on your terms anyway.
Regardless. Yeah.
I'm sorry. But like you need to start thinking about your own labor in a different way. If you're sitting there going like, because I think about CD Projekt Red and all the marketing PR buzz that went into Cyberpunk 2077 when they showed off that game in the most sterilized environments with the slickest trailers and Keanu's there and oh my God, the hype machine is whatever. Those laborers were sitting in that office in Poland going, this game is not fucking ready. They knew that. And that game came out not on their terms and it wasn't fucking ready. And they had to spend however many weeks basically fixing the mistake of a publishing PR marketing nightmare that was not their fault at all. And so I would ask those devs who were like, this wasn't released with kind of my best kind of foot forward. None of your stuff is, unless you control the actual means, right? It's like, not to put on my Marx shirt, but it's like, this is a real labor. This is a labor issue for the most part. And it's like, and I think it's a big deal to start thinking about your labor and how the PR machine is really manipulating your final product. And it's sometimes not making it look great because it'll make it look like it's ready when it's not. And that's a bad thing too. So I'm super, super sympathetic to folks that are like, God damn. And obviously a lot of really silly people don't know how things work. I think the demystification of this is good, just not this way. And I hope that more studios like EA, like maybe Rockstar can get into this EA business of trying to show stuff off early. I don't know how that impacts their bottom line, but like Imran said, this isn't going to impact GTA 6. It's still going to become the best-selling game of all time, a decade on.
Well, the level of scrutiny that a GTA game gets, obviously that changes some of the calculus there, because you show one thing that doesn't end up in the final video game. That is going to be years of content of Rockstar lied. So I
that's true.
appreciate all of that, all those the nuances and the nuisances of having to deal with the expectations of like an unfathomably large community of people who just want your game so bad that you cannot actually process how much demand there is for it.
Yeah, gaming culture needs to understand that there are humans who make these things. And I think the humans who make these things need to understand that they are human too. And like it's not on them to change the culture. I think the culture itself needs to change from within, but we need to move on from the idea that video games are constantly need to have a best foot forward. It's ultimately a business, but it is a business that we can be more understanding of.
Right. And it's like, it being $1 billion business, it's not really actually anyone's problem. People just want to play the game, and you come and say like, well, we need to protect these billions of dollars. So like, what does that have to do with me? I don't know what to do about that for you. So the other aspects of this, I mean, do we think this hacker is caught within a year? It's hard to I'm not an expert on this stuff. It feels like they usually end up getting caught, but maybe already hitting Uber and now doing this.
If it's the same
encourage
person,
more hacks.
if it's the same person, then there are going to be an awful lot of resources figuring out how to expose this person. So like, it's probably a matter of time. But
I think they wanted to make a deal. Yeah, they wanted to make a deal with Rockstar because I think they realized, oh, this is like this leaked far further than they I guess thought they would, but that's stupid of them if they didn't think it was going to. And I think they realized, oh, this means jail time if I'm caught.
Yeah.
I mean,
fun.
And Rockstar will not hesitate to do everything that they can to take this person down. Everything. It'll be a nightmare for that person.
What do you think? That's like a 4-star wanted level? 5-star?
I think Rockstar sees it as a 6-star. So
that person's Uber rating is going all the way down.
Rockstar sees everything as a 6-star wanted level. So anything you do against them. Marvel Entertainment and Motive Studio team up for an all-new Iron Man video game. They confirmed this in the EA News blog today. Basically, Motive's going to make an Iron Man game next.
Right.
They're going to after they get done with Dead Space, they're going to move on to that. They are staffing up, which is why we are hearing about this right now. This is part of that 2-game Marvel set I was talking about previously, where I talked about Black Panther. This is the other one. This is coming out way before Black Panther. This should be like the Black Panther team is not even ready to really start hiring up, while this team is. It also sounds like along those lines, Motive is beefing up its capacity to work on games, and they do say they're working on multiple projects. So it's like maybe they do get done with Dead Space, they go all in on this Iron Man game. They probably also are going to look, if Dead Space does really well, at a Dead Space 2 or a Dead Space, new offshoot or something like that. So any expectations for Iron Man, John? You got any hopes for a game like this? You hope it gets some Anthem action in there, or is it just something you don't care about?
God.
Oh wow! I mean, really, the flying around in Anthem was the best part. So if you could make me feel like that in this Iron Man game, then I think that would be kind of cool. I just have big question marks about Marvel games in general, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I feel like no other character has really captured the general population's imagination and interest like Spider-Man, and that's about it. Like I think Spider-Man is a Marvel hero that kind of persists and does interesting stuff kind of no matter what's going on in the cinematic universe, on TV, on Disney Plus. I feel like Spider-Man is just kind of like indelible constant for Marvel, and they'll always be able to pull some sort of income, kind of like DC can from Batman. Like I feel like those two things are really similar. I always have a big question mark when I see like a individual Marvel hero game. I'm like, it's been however many years since Robert Downey Jr. put on the suit. Like, I'm not saying that those two things have to be indelibly linked, but I think to a large part of the population, that's what people think about when they think of Iron Man. Like, that's what they do. And so how does Motive basically stick the landing on creating a new kind of thing for Iron Man? I think that's a tricky needle to thread. But in terms of like gameplay stuff, I can imagine some really cool stuff. If you want to, put together an Iron Man game, sky's the limit, like literally and figuratively. I think that's like a very cool sandbox to play around in. But what do they do with it? How many resources do they have? What are they allowed to do? A lot of questions I have. So
like, what is the setting? Are you going to be in an open world city, or
you have to be, right?
I think a big part of that is you have to be. Yeah.
I think you have to be at this point. I mean, I feel like it's like it's hard to imagine games now pulling back to something more like Arkham Asylum. I would love it if they would, because I feel like, that series peaked with the very first game, but it's like, everyone wants to go big and big and big and big. And the big and big is either open world or live service or both. And so I have to imagine it's open world, so we'll see.
What if it's just a card game?
We all win.
Big swing. Like, I mean, we joke, but it's like, whatever. Like, give me something that isn't the most obvious thing, and I would probably actually be more excited for it. But I'm also not the audience for this game. So
the thing here is, the reason this is happening, two big things is Jedi Fallen Order did really well for EA. Yeah. They see a future of doing single player games. They talk about this being a single player, third person action adventure narrative driven Iron Man game. And then And that's, in addition to hearing stuff like, other, like seeing Capcom doing really well with a variety of games. But then the other big thing here is that when you have like an opportunity and you're looking at the opportunity cost of doing one way or the other, they've looked at the potential of starting up a whole new IP or even bringing back one of their own IPs. And they're like, the level that we want to hit at, it still makes more sense to go pay Disney to get an IP, to license an IP that actually will save us some money in the long run, they believe. Right. And I'm still skeptical of that because we just came off of Marvel's Avengers, and it's like, if that game couldn't hit, what possibly like? It's so easy to have a miss. But they, at least for EA's part, they do believe that makes a difference in their potential to have a hit game. I don't know, Imran, does that sound right to you?
Yeah, what's their threshold? It's like 10 million copies for a single player game is what they need.
Yes,
and like,
sounds like
there have been so many games canceled from EA that are like, they go through that 10 million copy meeting and they're just like, okay, no, we're not going to do this. So it's not going to happen. And like, I do kind of wonder if like people at EA, especially I assume probably Laura Miele, who is like taking such a big hand in EA development now, have been looking at they look at the 10-year Star Wars deal and like, we squandered that. We did not do the thing that would have made us so much money until Jedi Fallen Order. And then it proved that we could have made these games all along, and we wasted 10 years not doing them. So now they are in that process of like, all right, we've got Jedi Survivor, we've got, like you said, Jeff, Black Panther, we've got Iron Man, we've got all this stuff that could be doing that, but they spent 10 years with exclusive rights to the biggest IP in the world, or one of the biggest IPs in the world, and they didn't make it. They made a couple of games. One of them was such a big, like, it sold well, but was such a big critical not failure, I guess, but critical controversy that Iger had to contact the head of EA, had to contact Andrew Wilson, be like, what the hell are you doing? What's happening?
It wasn't actually Iger. I reported it was Iger, and I remember getting a call saying it was a different executive at Disney, and I had to correct that record, but essentially Iger told them to call him. So yes, like, but this is year, like, I wonder if EA has been doing pretty well recently, like Skate, Dead Space, all that stuff. I wonder, I imagine, like I said, part of it is probably Laura Miele taking a larger hand in this stuff because she is, I think, probably the next big head of EA at some point. But I do suspect that they are looking at their last 10 years and going, we had so many opportunities to do well and to do right by our audience and our IPs, and we just did not. So hopefully now they are taking the right turn for it. Yeah, they really did. I mean, all these studios, all these publishers looked too hard in one direction, away from things that worked, and they just no longer believed in making video games as a way to make money. And that was a huge. They are now in a situation where it's like, the kind of, what's your future? Where's your future value going to come from? And EA seems to be finding it, but a lot of these, like Activision, is just like, no, more Call of Duty, we're scared. More Call of Duty, we're scared. And it's like, well, maybe under Microsoft they will have a chance to kind of do a little bit more of what EA is doing. And who knows if this is actually going to work out for EA. One or two bad games, a couple of Mirror's Edge catalysts, and they'll be right back to square one here. But at least they're trying for now.
People don't talk about this a lot, but like in 2010. The general consensus was console gaming is dead. Single player gaming is dead.
Oh yeah.
And it took the PS4 selling really well to change that mentality.
Shock Sony itself into like, oh, this thing's going to sell? What the hell is going on? We got to make games for this thing.
But that thinking and the decisions made in 2010 are still having repercussions now.
They are.
And they fucked over so many publishers, that mentality in the last 10 years.
And it really got I think warped even the way gamers see the industry, because it's still, people got so into the mindset of the next big game, because there was not really much below that was hitting. People weren't trying the mid-tier stuff. There was a million reasons mid-tier gaming wasn't working, but a lot of it was just like, that juice is not worth the squeeze, because we can't, new ideas are really hard on these crappy consoles that people didn't invest in at Microsoft and Sony because they didn't believe in console gaming when they were designing them. It's like, the ramifications are just felt in every direction. That lack of confidence in consoles. It's it is we're kind of lucky that people just showed up for the PS4 the way that they did. Otherwise, a lot of this stuff just wouldn't be here.
It's the power of NAC.
Yes, we got a shout out to NAC. Exactly, man. Former PlayStation US boss Shawn Layden announces Tencent role. Former PlayStation US boss Shawn Layden is now a strategic advisor at Tencent. And his first act was, get rid of those fanbite kids.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
He's threatened.
Yeah, man, listen, he's a tough but fair. Layden, who was chairman of the company's worldwide studios group, left Sony in 2019, announced on LinkedIn on Monday that he hoped to help Tencent deepen their activities within the games industry. I am delighted to share that I have recently joined Tencent Games as a strategic advisor. In this new role, I hope to advise, assist, and support the team at Tencent as they deepen their activities and commitments within the industry to which I've devoted the majority of my career. We are at an epoch-defining moment in gaming and interactive entertainment. There are many possible roads ahead, but only a few are profound, broadening, inclusive, edifying, inspiring, and or sustainable. I am thrilled to continue this journey of discovery and thank Tencent for the opportunity. So, listen, a lot of that quote right there is a bunch of horseshit, but can you imagine Jim Ryan even trying to pretend to say anything close to that?
I can't. I'd like to see him try.
How much deeper can Tencent go into the gaming? What the hell? It's like the deepest company there is.
Yeah. Wading very carefully into the subject.
Wow. Yeah.
One, I hope they don't fire him in an email when he's sleeping. Two, Tencent is like very clearly trying to invest their way into the game industry. They want to be a Ubisoft style or sized publisher, but they're doing it in a way that is like, by contrast to NetEase, which is another like East Asian publisher that is like getting into the games or getting into traditional console development. They are trying to buy their way in by investing in companies in like bits and pieces, little increments,
49,
and like
49%, 49%, yeah.
Right. And I think the Layden, I was gonna say acquisition, the Layden hiring is them trying to like have a better strategy for this of like, okay, show us exactly how a console gaming company can and should work, and we'll be happy to give you money to help you do along that. I don't know whether that style of investment and industry consolidation is good for the industry. I would probably wager say not. But the money they're tossing around it's real money. It's money that I think is going to help a lot of developers. But I also think that when Layden comes in there and he starts giving his advice, he starts saying, this is where I think the gaming industry is going. This is where I think we should invest. This is where I think that the next big video game is going to come from. At some point, Tencent is going to listen. And Tencent is going to have, like, they are going to own probably some of the biggest games. In like, they have not a majority stake. Is it a majority stake in Epic now? It is at least a significant stake.
It's still not.
It's a significant stake, but it's minority.
Right. Yeah. They have their hands in Fortnite. They have their hands in PUBG Mobile. They have their hands in now Ubisoft. But like they are going to own more and more of the game industry in a way that I don't think people are going to be very happy about when they wake up one day and realize, wait, what? All my favorite games have the same look. It might not be the same logo too, because they use Level Infinite as their marketing face because they know Tencent Games does not have the exact same cachet they want.
The SEO is not great necessarily.
Yes.
It's the thing when you search Bobby Kotick and you get the devil ears picture, the devil horns. Imran, I think you're exactly right in that for a very long time now, Tencent has been investing in a very Chinese business way. And the way of doing business in China when it comes to investment is you put money in a company, you get a stake, usually a minority stake, but not always. But even if it is a majority stake, you then sit back and let these companies operate as they were. It's usually pretty hands off in most of these big, like Epic, completely for the most part, completely hands off is how it works. Yep. I think that you're right in that they are looking to then go more hands on, and they are bringing Shawn Layden on to guide that transition. And
they need authority to do that, and I'm not sure they've earned that authority in the U.S.
Someone who can go into meetings and if you go in and like, hey, we want to be in charge. Can you tell us what to do next? Like, no, you need someone who's done it before. And Shawn Layden's a pretty good answer to that question, at least, it seems like. As good as anything else.
They also, frankly, have machinations to do more first-party publishing, too. They do. And so like there is there is investment wing, and that's something that I'm actually very familiar enough that I probably can't go into it, but it's like but so that's kind of a big part of this, but also I have to imagine it'll impact the first party stuff that they want to do. And because they have a studio system internally, and they really they want those things to do very, very well. And they have a lot riding on those things going very, very well over the next few years. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to invest this big, you might as well get some pretty serious talent inside to help steer some of that stuff. So makes sense.
Moving ahead, Sony XDev is working with Team Ninja on Rise of the Ronin. Rise of the Ronin was announced at the State of Play last week. It's an action RPG that will be released on the PS5 as a console exclusive in 2024 from Team Ninja. It looks kind of like Neo as Assassin's Creed. It looks pretty cool. It's a really ambitious looking project, more ambitious than any Team Ninja game from that they've done before. They say that that's the case, which is probably why they need someone like Sony XDev, which is a resource of people at Sony that can help external studios work on stuff. And that's exactly what's happening here. Yasuda told the PlayStation blog last week that Sony has been supporting Team Ninja since it started working on the project 7 years ago. So this is like a long partnership,
long time,
finally coming to fruition. So yeah, pretty neat. Of those games that got showed up State of Play, what do you guys think of like Rise of Ronin compared to something like Stellar or whatever that game was? Stellar Blade.
I think that game looks fun. Like Team Ninja's, they do kind of just one thing at this point, and they do it very well. Like they make that action game that's like not a Souls-like, not quite Ninja Gaiden, but like a good middle ground. And I think, like I was playing the Wolong demo, like that's kind of what that is. Like they have decided to double down on this thing. I think as a whole, Koei Tecmo kind of has AAA development figured out in a way that most other people don't, in that they're going, we're never going to be the guys. We're not going to be the guys with the money, but we are going to be the guys who play with the guys with the money. We're going to be every rich kid's best friend. And I think it's smart of them to be like, we'll make your Dragon Quest builders. We'll make your Fire Emblem 3 houses. We'll make your Rise of Ronin. And I think it's good for them to like pair with these places that are going to give them the dev resources and the technical knowledge and know-how. So when they do go on to their next thing, whatever that's going to be, whether that's a like Nintendo game or a Microsoft game or a Square Enix game or whatever, they're a better developer coming out of this one. They didn't like languish in dev hell because they've got someone that has their back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's they've been on a bit of a roll with at least successful partnerships in a way that someone like Platinum has had a lot of hits or misses. Team Ninja's at least been a little bit more consistent and reliable, and it's paying off for them. Sackboy PC seemingly confirmed after database entry adds Big Adventure icon. There's been a lot of evidence that Sackboy's Big Adventure is coming to PC. And now if you go into the database, you will see a picture of Sackboy associated with all of those previous postings to the Steam database. So this is probably coming pretty soon. It's one of those that was in the NVIDIA GeForce Now leak, I believe. So we probably expect it pretty soon. Sony said they're going to make $300 million in revenue on PC this year, which makes me think every game we've heard about so far is probably coming before the end of the fiscal year. So maybe before March, I would probably bet on it.
I just need to get this out of my head now. Return of the Sack. That's it.
That's really good. That's really good.
Thank you. We appreciate that. I'm glad we did the story for that.
You might as well say Returnal to Sack, because like Returnal's the other game that's also almost certainly coming. Like, I imagine
Returnal with mouse and keyboard. Let's do it.
Yeah, Sackboy will probably be like in the next couple of weeks to a month, and then I imagine we'll get Returnal January-ish for the final quarter.
That 300 million revenue number, I don't know how Sackboy moves that needle.
But it's just a few other needles.
Kids love the Sack, just like the Minions.
Kids love it. But I will say, as pithy as I'm being, that was a surprise game for me, where I was like,
I had fun with it.
This is great. This is a fun game.
Yeah.
It doesn't come with the kind of, you know what? I feel like with Little Big Planet, there were so many expectations. You turn that thing on, and you're like, you got to be a creator, dude. And I'm like, I just want to chill out with something and do some platforming. And Sackboy's Big Adventure was good. So if you don't have a PlayStation, pick it up on PC. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's see here. PSVR 2 won't be backward compatible with PSVR 1. Speaking on the PlayStation Blog podcast, Senior Vice President of Platform Experience, Hideaki Nishino, said that PSVR games are not compatible with PSVR 2 because basically the PSVR 2 is awesome. It's basically how they put it here. It is designed to deliver a truly next-gen VR experience. The thing everyone points to is the tracking is different. The new one's going to use inside out, and this PSVR 1 used a camera tracking lights and stuff, and that's obviously a problem. There are ways to solve some of those issues. The big thing is, though, those games are still just kind of tracking points in space, and that is very easy to translate to other stuff. And they have not mentioned about a lot of ports for those games, or just saying, hey, yeah, it's not backwards compatible technically, but we're just going to update these games to work with this new stuff. They're not talking about that. And the reason is, from my understanding, is the API for a lot of stuff in PSVR is busted. It is weird and bespoke, and porting games from PSVR to PSVR 2 is going to be a pretty major headache, and Sony's going to have to work with partners to help them do it with a lot of the most popular games.
So they went through the whole PS3 thing, and we're like, let's just do it again.
Let's do it again.
That's what this sounds like.
It is. It's pretty much exactly that. They were in control of this experience. They could have looked at what the industry standards were. They didn't. This time, they very much did. PSVR 2 is using basically industry standard APIs, or at least something that's very easy to hook into that stuff. So again, it's going to make it easy to take a Valve Index game like Half-Life Alyx, port it over to PSVR 2 and call it a day. But rescuing a lot of those PSVR 1 games, there's some weird ones that aren't very popular that are probably just going to be lost. And I don't know if they actually ever came out anywhere else because they were like made for the DualSense tracking controller. And so you're going to have to plug in your PSVR 1. I say lost. You could still plug in your PSVR 1, even though that feels like a crazy thing to do in 2022. Sure. So, but no real surprise here, right? This was kind of always going to be the way it was going to go, right?
Yeah, I kind of expect like developers that are still around and they're still gonna they're making new PSVR 2 games. Like I bet whatever next Hitman or maybe even James Bond that has a VR part in it, they might just go, let's go back and let's add the VR to Hitman VR for PSVR 2. And I suspect like Capcom will probably do that with Resident Evil 7 and all that jazz as well. But like there will be stuff that we're probably just never gonna see again. Like I don't think they're not gonna port up VR Worlds or whatever. So yeah, there will be stuff that's lost, and that sucks and that's sad, but I'm at least glad that they have new technology that works better as opposed to like hamstringing themselves to the old technology just to make compatibility work.
Right.
Yeah. They needed this clean cut, and a big part of that is even if they were to build in the translation for this stuff, it would have been bad. And these are games that were barely running at 60 frames by 2, like with the frame doubling and stuff like that. So if there was any sort of hiccup, people would have got sick, and it would have been a miserable experience for a lot of games that don't look great, especially what is going to be pretty good looking PSVR 2 games, native games. Jan, I'm going to skip the GeForce RTX one coming up just to let you know. Let's hit this one. PS5 with detachable disk drive is coming in 2023. Yeah. So I've got a theory about this one. We'll get to it. I want to hear what Imran and John have to say. So basically, this is an Insider Gaming, a new website from Tom Henderson, where he's like, hey, I got a report about the first major revision for the PS5. It's going to have a detachable disk drive, according to a new report. Henderson reported that the console will launch about a year from now in September 2023. Sources told the site that this new model of PS5 has been in production since the PS5 launched in November 2020. I think that having a detachable disk drive that can connect to any PS5 is a good way to avoid issues with digital price fixing and having someone say, hey, we are going to regulate you because the only way you enable people to buy games on your system is through your store, which you control. And so you are completely responsible for any sort of antitrust thing you might be doing in your store. And then Sony goes, well, you could buy a disk drive. And they hope that solves the problem for them. I don't know if that will work. I think that might be part of the thing behind this, though.
I hope it slots into like the valley that is on top of a PS5, and you could just chunk it in.
Same.
Right.
No, I
Like,
mean,
like N64 on top of a 64 DD where like the pads like nestled in there. Yeah, I want that. Absolutely.
I mean, if
Go ahead,
you're
John.
gonna give us a new PS5 SKU, at least make it good to look at. Holy smokes! Like, I hate the way this thing looks. But yeah, detachable disk drive. I don't know. I think that the language, it feels like it's gonna be like, oh, if you have FOMO, if you got the digital only one. I was like, I don't have FOMO. I've got it. It's
No,
fine.
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm really good. There are things about physical media I miss, of course. The fact that any storefront at any time can basically just shut off your access to anything means that we're renting everything that we're ever getting on digital. That's just how it is, and that's awful. There are ways around that, folks. I won't say what they are, but there are ways around that. But it's like, yeah, the disk drive doesn't move me at all, but I think that theory sounds pretty good to me. That's part of what they're doing.
Yeah, I bought the more expensive PS5 with the disk drive. I have never to this point put a disc in it, but I needed that disk drive because I was just like, what if I need to at some point? What if I need to put a disc in? What if I want to play Dark Souls 3, which I for some reason only own physically and also own on Steam, so it doesn't really matter. Like, sure. I understand who this project is for.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily assume that's a lot of people, but I understand the people who are like, okay, I bought the digital, I want the option just in case.
Right.
Remember the HD DVD drive for the Xbox 360?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it was? Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get that back. Let's do that again. That was fun. Yeah. The only way to watch the Abyss Special Edition HD DVD. I actually don't think that's true, but I wish it was. I would go get an HD DVD player if that were true. Sony and Microsoft continue sniping at each other regarding the Activision deal. This happened late last week. We didn't get a chance to talk about it on the Bombcast last week, but we'll just go over it real quick. The CMA, the Country Music Awards or whatever it is in the UK, said, hey, we are going to actually go to phase 2 of looking into this. And Sony gave a quote to GI Biz saying, by giving Microsoft control of Activision games like Call of Duty, this deal would have major negative implications for gamers and the future of the gaming industry, it claimed. We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality gaming experience, and we appreciate the CMA's focus on protecting gamers. Microsoft then sniped back immediately with, it makes zero business sense for Microsoft to remove Call of Duty from PlayStation given its market-leading console position. So you're the market leader, and that doesn't make any sense. We're not going to do that, and we've said we're not going to do that. Even though people point out they've only guaranteed Sony directly 3 more years, it's still a lot. And of course, that stuff's going to be on a rolling basis going forward. Right. My big thing here is there is no such thing as PlayStation gamers. That is a made up concept. The idea that like Chevy can go, this what Ford is doing or what Tesla's doing isn't fair to Chevy drivers. It's like, no, homie, people could decide what they're driving all the time. That is not an actual class of people. You've made up this term to like make it seem like something unfair is happening here, when the only thing is you're maybe going to be forced to compete in some new ways. That's my first reaction. Of course, there's other considerations here, but every other company in this business is like, we don't care about this deal. It's just Sony. So it definitely feels like Sony's trying to make their last stand still. I don't know. What do you guys think?
You say that, Grub, but like some of my best friends are, for some reason, still Sony diehards versus having the world in front of them.
Oh, no, that exists. Let me show you Twitter.com.
People think that's true about themselves. Yes, absolutely, 100%. Yes.
It benefits Sony to complain about this. It benefits them to just be like, hey, this is unfair, this sucks, we are the victims here. And I understand exactly why Jim Ryan is doing it, and he should keep doing it, because it makes sense for him from a business perspective to constantly be griping about this, because it makes them seem, from a not only a PR perspective, but from like a business perspective, to just keep going, we are the ones who did not screw everyone else. We are the ones who like try to keep all this stuff open. Hey, look at Bungie. Destiny's still everywhere. They are not doing that, which we actually don't know that they're not doing that, but they're probably not doing that. But like, I think for Microsoft, they could keep this thing multi-platform in perpetuity if they wanted to, because what's going to be the big seller for them is not Call of Duty's exclusive. It's going to be Call of Duty costs $70 here, and it costs nothing here.
Yeah.
I would pick up
That is
Modern-
their big selling point.
I will pick up Modern Warfare, a Call of Duty game, for the first time in maybe 7 years because it's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So, Sony, like, it is funny to me to just watch Sony be in public being like, but their strategy's too good. It's like, dog, like, I don't know what to do, like, do better. Like, I hate to sound all capitalist about it, but it's like, you can figure it out. You can figure out your way around this.
That's the position that they're like. That's their argument, right? Is we've been sitting back and cashing checks, and now we got to figure something out here because that's how the business works. This other company makes the game. We get 30% of everything that happens there, and we want that to continue. And now, and that's really what they're protecting here. They're not protecting PlayStation gamers. They're protecting the 30% cut of everything.
Line. Yeah,
exactly. So it's you get it. I also would love passive income. I watch TikToks about that all the time.
Yeah, I love that mailbox money, baby.
Yeah, to give you that mailbox money.
Let's buy a laundromat while we're at it. Dang.
Yeah, buy a laundromat. I hear that's the way to do it. I'm gonna count those coins, man. I make big bucks.
They are in principle correct though. Like the acquisitions do suck. It is like. It is unhealthy long term for the industry for all this to keep happening. They're not necessarily arguing from the principal position though. They are arguing from, as you said, Grub. They want to keep bringing in the money from the X number of million Call of Duties sold on PlayStation every year.
They're using a real argument that I think we should all be concerned about in a completely bad faith position.
Right.
So,
and it's like, and it's going to be hard for them to argue that things are going to get worse in the immediate term with consolidation, because you can point to Activision and say that, look, this is a real mess of a company. They expect their revenue to go down. They lay off people when they're at their when they have huge profits, and now that they are expected to lose money, it's only going to get worse for the people that actually work here. And Microsoft will be like, hey, we have the innovative business model that can actually better serve all of these people working on this stuff, as well as the customers and ourselves, and everybody wins except for maybe Sony will have to compete a little bit harder. That's all immediate term stuff. You're right. Who knows what the long term effects of consolidation are? If this is an industry where it was more like television and movies, where it's pretty rigid about how things get made, it would probably be a lot worse than what it's going to be in the medium to long term. But right now, it's like companies get acquired and all the talent leaves in a couple of years and go starts their own studios. That's happened repeatedly in the last couple of years, and maybe it's going to slow down because the economy is getting worse. But we'll see.
The problem with Sony's argument is they played this game too. Like, they play the hey, here's a check, don't put this game on Xbox kind of game.
Yeah,
I'm not going to name any specific titles because I'm sure like it's more complicated than anything like that I want to commit to. But it is like, let's say the Square Enix rumors are true. Let's say they do end up buying Square Enix. There's not going to suddenly be a lot more Square Enix games. Like Final Fantasy Reunion? Rebirth? Rebirth is not going to suddenly be on Xbox. It's already not announced for Xbox. It's not going to suddenly be on Xbox if they buy Square Enix. Right. Like, this is what the argument they are making right now is this is unfair. If you keep pushing this, we'll have to act in kind for plans they're already probably making.
Right. Xbox remains open to further acquisitions in related news. Phil Spencer is on a charm offensive to help with the Activision scrutiny that the deal is receiving. He talked with CNBC, which asked him about the future of M&A activity at Xbox. He said, "This is such a competitive market. I don't think we get to press pause on anything. Tencent is the largest gaming company on the planet today, and they continue to heavily invest in gaming content and game creators. Sony is a larger business than we are in gaming today, and they continue to invest. When you look at the investments that we've made, it's a highly, highly competitive market. We strive to be a major player here. We want to deliver great content for our players, and we're going to remain active, whether that's investing in our internal teams that are already building great games that people know and love, whether it's building new partnerships." And to that end, he also spoke about being in Japan and having a lot of meetings to build new partnerships and to build on existing ones. That's been the long-term plan with what's happening with Kojima for a while now, where, hey, we're going to show that we can work well with Kojima. We're going to show up in Japan and say, who else wants to do a similar deal? And we want to bring your games to a global audience while still letting you make the games you want to make. And we'll see how that works. But no surprise, really, that Microsoft, a company with so much money that it actually loses money by just having it sitting in the bank, wants to spend that money after the Activision deal closes, right?
Yeah. They they have talked with major Japanese publishers about acquisitions. Like, I can't speak to how far those conversations have got. Like, that's not a thing that most people know, and I certainly don't. But they have talked. They are very clearly interested in some major Japanese publishers. They're interested in smaller studios. They're interested in still more acquisitions because the Game Pass model kind of assumes that games are going to come to Game Pass. Like, Game Pass is eventually going to find itself in the same position as Netflix, where the licensing cost gets so high that it makes more sense to just own the studio and have them produce things from Game Pass. And I think Microsoft is aware of that. They are looking forward to they're looking at in the future time when that has to happen. And I think they are preparing for that now. But when Phil Spencer says more acquisitions are coming, he's not like blowing hot air. He's not like pontificating on maybe. He has shit in mind. I'm sure he has papers already drawn for some things. They can't right now because the acquisition thing is so not tenuous, but like tricky. So, but I am sure it like by this time next year, we'll probably be talking about, yeah, it's wild that they just picked up X company who we always assumed was going to be independent.
Yeah. That's there's no such thing as that company anymore, really, except for those the biggest ones in the world. I mean, there was that story that didn't pan out about Amazon and wanting to get EA. It's just not out of the realm of possibility that like something like that is still going to happen. Not maybe that in specific case, but something along those lines. So once Microsoft gets Activision, everyone has to move now because the vacuum left by something like that creates a need for everybody to respond, and that's been the conversation that has been dominating these backroom deals for the entire year. And so we have still yet to see the full ramifications of that, but it's everything like Square Enix saying, hey, come invest in our studios because they're too expensive for us to run anymore because they need to be making the biggest games they've ever made before, and whenever we do that, it sort of blows up in our face, so we need help. So everything's on the table. Yep. All right, Jan, that does it for the news, so I'm going to hand it back to you so I can get some emails and maybe some Discords.
Yes. I still cannot get into the Bombcast email address for some reason. Perhaps an IT person saw all the various amounts of spam headed to that email address and was like, nah, let's just nuke it. I'll eventually get back in, but if you're watching live, you can use the Ask a Question feature, and maybe we'll we'll answer those questions live, perhaps, with our lovely guests right after this break. Breaking news that we actually forgot to include in the news section here. Just because it's breaking news, I'm going to hit the news music again. And I'm going to stop it. The Naruto run is back in the Fortnite shop, everyone.
Woo! Hey,
I bought it.
There we go. This is normally where the emails would be, but I can't get into them still. I'm like that one Eric Andre gif. Just let me in, damn it. I need to see what the Pizza Magazine is talking about this month. So instead, we've solicited questions from our lovely Discord. If you should definitely go join that bunch of lovely folks. They're fun people. They're lovely people. I observe them all the time, and I'm taking notes as to who's being weird, and then I'm just taking notes as to when I'll shadow ban them. Just kidding. I never do that. I would never do that. First, we got you would. First, we got a couple questions from the Giant Bomb chat. If you're watching live, you can use the Ask a Question feature. Maybe we'll get to those. Nikki asks, John, can I expense a copy of Marvel vs. Capcom 2?
I have really bad news for you, Nikki. I think you should go check your Expensify and see if you can get in. If you can get it through, dope. If you can't, I don't know. Maybe I'll buy it. Oh, you mean the arcade cabinet? Absolutely the fuck not. But but something else, maybe we'll talk about.
I'm gonna go to eBay right now. We'll see.
Axel159 asks, what's your ideal Sunday? That's a pleasant question.
Like getting up really early on accident, because I don't want to plan to get up early because that never works out. But if I just happen to wake up and it's like 6, maybe even like 5:30 a.m. and somehow I'm awake and I'm just ready to get out. Maybe I have to pee real bad, but then I can just like slip into my day. And then my day is like maybe doing one actual productive thing right away, mowing the lawn, something like that. And then immediately just fucking hitting that couch so hard with my ass and laying down on my side with the Steam Deck and playing games while like Indiana Jones just happens to play on USA Network or something with commercials and everything. And I'm just like, sure, I'll watch this today. Whatever. I'll watch all 3 movies. So I'll 4 movies or whatever. And then I just lay there until dinner time, basically. And then we order a pizza. That's my Sunday.
It's pretty good.
Can't top that almost. Imran, John, any Sunday festivities or preferred Sunday activities?
For me, it's a video game I enjoy playing, time spent with a girlfriend, petting a cat, and like a nice cross breeze going through the apartment.
Oh, breeze.
Hell yeah.
That sounds like
You
an
are ready to get
everyday.
engaged.
That seems like an everyday kind of thing, though. You know, like, but that's really good for Sunday. The cross
Yeah, but now I'm not
breeze
working,
is-
so now I can like.
That's
actually,
true.
like, do
I was
that any
about to
day.
say you and I've got a life of Saturdays and Sundays right now, bud. Okay, my ideal Sunday is late October.
Ooh.
I get up. It's a little crisp outside. The leaves are changing because I actually have seasons where I live. Sorry, Californians. I make a hot apple cider. I drink that in the morning while I sit outside in the backyard. Maybe I watch a little bit of football pregame. Maybe we'll see it. We'll see how I feel about listening to Terry Bradshaw. Some days I don't want to do that.
Yeah, but sometimes it hits just right, though.
It's just right. The ideal Sunday to me is the Cowboys are not playing during the day. They're playing at night. And so I have 7 hours of red zone to basically zone out and watch and eat nachos. And then I can stress out about the Cowboys that night. But that's kind of an
There you
ideal
go.
Sunday. I mean, my wife's around, my dogs are around. They're important, I guess. But that stuff
Sure.
is
They're always around.
that stuff's they're always around. That stuff's pretty important. The best Sunday is a late fall or early fall football Sunday, in my opinion.
I don't have a greater sense of memory for anything in my life than I do for hot cider. I remember the couple times in my life I've had it. It was as a kid at the cider mill with the cinnamon apple donuts or whatever, and then in Prague when it was like negative 10 degrees outside and I was so cold, and we got some hot apple cider and it was the fucking best.
I make once mid-October rolls around, I make a non-alcoholic wassail, which is just like apple cider, a ton of spices, orange juice, lemon juice.
Hell yeah.
You heat that up. You could add booze to it if you want, but it's really good by
I mean, even
itself.
without the booze, it still sounds like it'll get you fucked up, honestly.
It'll get you fucked up. We used to have my recipe for wassail on a cup that we sold in the Fanbite store, but the Fanbite store is fucking gone, so don't even try to do it.
Wassail. I learned something new today. That's great. Wassail?
Yeah.
Don't look it up. Don't Google
Don't
it.
look it up. Don't look it
There's
up.
there's some
there's
traditions that people have with wassail that like aren't great.
But bizarrely, the Wikipedia page for wassail, one of the most racist things I've ever seen in my life. But it's very weird, but it's just a drink.
Casual racism. That's my ideal Sunday.
Yep.
No, this
Alright,
this takes some effort. This is racism that like somebody woke up that morning and is like, I'm gonna be fucking racist today.
Yeah, they had a fucking product manager for that racism. As well.
I mean, some people wake up and that is just their everyday, just to choose that. All right. Propaganda Panda asks, why does Jeff Grubb hate pillows? I don't know. Jeff, do you hate pillows?
I don't hate pillows. I just do not find much of a need for them in most of my sleeping regimen. I have a pillow and I will use it sometimes and sometimes I won't. And I am usually good to go. But the multiple pillow, maybe it's a touch sensitivity thing. I don't need things on me.
Are you like a stomach sleeper?
I'm a side sleeper, so that's where like it goes
You're
over
a
the head. That's why I have the one
sleeper.
pillow. Right.
Okay. How's your neck, bud?
I'll use the one pillow under my head when I'm sleeping. But like I got this conversation because Mike Minotti's like, I have a pillow here and there and there and here and here, and I got my body pillow.
I can't be
Princess
too
Peach
crowded
over here and whatever.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that.
Yeah, I have to have. When I slept alone, I slept with 4 pillows, one in my head or one underneath my head, one on either side of me. So when I turned, I like grabbed the pillow because when I like, as John implied, like as a side sleeper, I tend to just sleep on my stomach or move to my stomach, and that hurts my neck a lot. And then one between my knees, because for whatever reason, I just like
that feels good.
It hurts. Yeah, it hurts my back if I don't. Basically, me sleeping is like what is the way I can do this without injuring myself? And it turns out I need a lot
the least
of
amount of pain. Yep.
Yeah.
I was going through a phase where like I would bend my knee and like kind of like prop my knee up while I was sleeping, and then I'd just be pushing down with my foot really hard, and I'd wake up with a sore foot, and I'd be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Wow.
And it turns out I was just like all the tension was just pushing down the whole
you
8
were just-
hours while I was
You were just
sleeping.
fucking rearing to go in your seat. You're like, fuck, I'm ready to just stand up here any second and just start doing jumping jacks. What the hell?
Yeah, the fun thing that I've come across now sleeping with the CPAP machine is I roll around a lot in my sleep. So sometimes I'll wake up refreshed and then immediately be pulled back down by the CPAP hose because I've somehow wrapped it around my neck 3 times.
Wow.
It's fun.
See,
it's a great time. It's such a look.
I probably need to do the CPAP thing too, but I'm worried about that exact thing of like I move around so much in my sleep. I'm basically like on the playground and like while I'm sleeping, and I worry about like being tethered to a thing. Granted, I should probably do that because like the other option is maybe dying, but like
Sure.
I should just sort of deal with those.
I'm like, my worry is like, oh man, I got to do a sleep study. That sounds like a hassle.
It's not that bad.
I'm sure it's not, but in my head, I'm like, it's time, and I got to go. People are gonna watch me, and I don't want people to perceive me.
They don't have you do it in the hospital anymore, Grub. They just attach something to your pinky and you turn it on when you go to sleep.
All right, I'm gonna do it. Then.
Okay.
I need it. I definitely need it.
I just know the second sleep becomes a test, I will not be able to sleep.
Yeah,
100%. Yep.
I'm gonna fucking ace this thing and then stay up all night. Yeah.
Yeah, they were very adamant saying like, hey, don't take anything before you go to sleep because this is gonna skew everything. All right, that's all the questions we're going to take from the website. Let's quickly dip into the Discord. El Paolo Loco asks, this is for Jeff Grubb, how freaking awesome was episode 50? I'm assuming they're talking about Naruto.
I cried. I only watched Naruto while working out. So imagine a 245-pound big boy just fucking hitting that kettlebell, doing them swings, and then Rock Lee explains his whole purpose in being, and just like hunched over, like, you're the coolest, Rock Lee. I love you so much. Oh my god!
Is that the Chunin tournament?
Yeah.
Yes,
that it is.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, that episode rocks.
It was incredible. It looked fantastic. Had some of the best animation yet. It was just a hardcore, awesome fight with a lot of turns, and at the end, it's impossible not to fall in love with that character. He is just so cool. I loved it. It was one of my favorite episodes of anything ever, for sure.
Wow! Yeah. High praise.
Wow.
Yeah, I would. So I'm going to use this time to leap off that real quick.
Please,
Jeff. After you finish Naruto, which is going to be a while, because that thing goes nowhere and goes places at the exact same time. Watch Hunter x Hunter.
Okay.
Hunter x Hunter, I think, it starts off very like you think like, oh, this is the person who made Yu Yu Hakusho. This is just going to be all fighting tournaments. It's not. It ends up being one of the best shonen anime I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh man!
And like, it starts off very, almost kid-centric in a way, and doesn't like, it feels like it's not that serious, but then it goes places that I think are genuinely incredible, to the point where I have not been that addicted to an anime since I was like 15.
See, okay,
All right, count me
Imran,
in.
I tried watching Hunter x Hunter, and I think I got past like the test arc.
Yes.
And I did not like it at all.
I think
should I go back or just continue on from where I was?
Go or did you watch the thing on Netflix right now, right? The newer series.
Yes,
the one I started like 2012. Get at least a little bit into York New City. If you're not enthused by York New City, if you're like, I don't like this still, then probably nothing will do it for you.
Okay.
But like that, I think, is where that series picks up amazingly. And the final arc of the anime, but like they're still continuing the series a little bit. But the Chimera Ant arc, incredible. Like I there's a point where it's very clear Tokashi was sick and was not making like the same kind of things as good things, but like the ending of that arc actually had me like crying like alone in my living room.
Oh, I love that feeling. That's actually my ideal Sunday is crying alone.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Hell yeah.
Okay. All right.
Good cry is good.
Yeah, everyone go get a good cry. Not
Good
later
cry is
today.
great.
Just like maybe sometime this week. Just
Yeah.
set aside half an hour to yourself. Maybe 2 hours.
Just watch a young boy be like, I just want to work harder than everybody else, and yet still not. Like, oh, fucking A.
RT Brick asks, in your opinion, what's the biggest difference between elder millennials and younger millennials?
Oh boy.
I don't know. It's so hard to parse. Whenever like people get mad at millennials or stuff, I'm sure this is a defensive thing. Like I don't do that shit. What are you talking about? I'm a millennial. I don't do any of that stuff. But I think, you know, definitely growing up as a kid without the internet and then getting the internet as like a relatively older kid, like 12, 13. I do think there is like, that's probably the biggest difference of being like someone that can remember a distinct point of like my formative years without everything being online. And then younger millennials having to deal with that stuff. How they actually manifest, though, it's so different from person to person. I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, I can't. Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat. I don't think I could really observe something that I would say here's the difference between them. But I can't imagine a lot of things being very different growing up with the internet in a way that I did not. You know, even through high school, we were mostly dealing with like email threads and like, oh, I saw what you wrote on your Zanga, and whoa, like your live journal popped off. You know, like I
definitely got in trouble for my live journal once, which is
right.
I got in trouble with the Secret Service for my live journal once.
Oh, that's a fun story.
That's
all right then.
I mean, like it's not much of it. Like this was around the 2004 election where I had a friend who was like, he was going to make a protest vote, and like somebody else commented on his journal saying, if Bush wins, we're going to drive to DC and like I will stand there while you take the shot yourself, which is ill-advised comment. I also separately about a different subject commented on that post, and then at some point in like the next like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, Secret Service showed up at my door at like 11 p.m. at night.
Yo, wow, that's intense.
I think the biggest difference between elder millennials and younger millennials are their feelings on My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was at a concert and then like the piano notes for the Black Parade came on and then I got very excited. My friend that is 5 years older than me was like, oh, it's this fucking song.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Because I think I'm usually like, oh, okay, it's just this fucking song.
Yeah. The same.
Did you know? I've been watching Umbrella Academy recently. Okay. Every time at the beginning of the episode, it's like created by Gerard Way. I was like, that can't be the same Gerard Way, right? No, it is actually Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance made Umbrella Academy.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
The hell?
Yes, folks. Yes, that Gerard Way is the creator of the Umbrella Academy.
Well, now I gotta go watch Umbrella Academy.
Prolific.
They actually use Gerard Way songs in it, so that explains that.
Yeah.
Talented
person.
Gerard Way.
The Chris Jericho of television, absolutely.
Except his wife was probably not at the January 6th riots.
Probably not.
No, probably not.
Oh boy. Well, that brings us to our last question of the day. Speaking about wrestling, UI John Cena asks, if you're a wrestler, what would your finishing move be?
We're both part of the KFW club, so we both have answers for this.
You took me out with the cutter, right? Was the cutter or was it a DDT?
Yeah,
I think
the
it was
RKO. Yeah, I got you on the RKO.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So diamond cutter. Yeah, that sucked. I was not because I was beating you up so bad that entire match, and then you came back with that cutter out of nowhere, and took it from me.
I became the number one game journalist.
You became the number one games journalist in the Fatal 3-Way or whatever it is.
And Andy defaulted to number 2.
Yeah, exactly. It just somehow worked out, by the way. Right? Yeah. Well, what a story that is. So if you're the cutter, I probably would be something like a power bomb, I think, or maybe
you'd be a good power bomb.
A power bomb, or one where I'd like just jump on you like a Yokozuna. I jump on you with my butt or like something. I think I could be pretty good. Sure. Yes.
Yeah. So I think about this stuff a lot. I think the biggest crime of the mid to late 90s was the expansion of the DDT into basically everyone's repertoire. Jake Roberts' DDT is the best finishing move of all time. There's nothing like it. It was devastating. He did it better than anybody else. Looked great, sounded great, was amazing. I would absolutely bring back a good Jake the Snake style DDT. And then, if I want to mix it up, I'd do a Texas Cloverleaf. Dean Malenko doesn't get enough credit for that. Hiroshi Tanahashi does a good one of those, a little elevated. I think about this stuff a lot. I'm sorry.
No, please.
That would be my combo. Yeah.
It's not a finishing move. It's kind of a signature. I really like Samoa Joe's Uranagi.
It's good.
It's the wind up he gets on it and then slamming them down.
Catches them in the corner with the momentum.
Yeah, that's really good. I would just do the worm. I like the showmanship of it, the pizzazz.
Okay,
except I tried spell something else or whatever.
I gotta name this because I met Kenny Omega in Japan when we talked about Yakuza for a little bit. One Winged Angel is absolutely one of the things I would probably do.
Yes,
even if it weren't a geeky name.
It's really man, that man is such a nerd. What a beautiful nerd.
He's great.
He's such a
we legit talked about Yakuza for a few minutes.
I got to meet him at ESPN because E3, some part of E3, ESPN was just like, "Hey, video gamers, come over here. We're gonna have you meet." Like one year it was not Bill Russell, who's the old guy that does the NBA broadcast, and then the next year it was Kenny Omega, and I knew Mike was a big Kenny Omega fan, so I brought him with me, and then he got to play Street Fighter against him, and Kenny Omega beat him very badly. Very good at Street Fighter, Kenny Omega.
Yeah. Ooh, actually, I'll change my answer. I really like complicated pinning predicaments.
Ooh,
like Orange Cassidy's Mousetrap.
Orange Cassidy does. Wheeler Yuta's got a good one.
Like frustrating the crap out of someone. It's like, I lost to him because of this. I'd love that.
Thank you.
There we go.
Give Orange Cassidy a belt. God damn it.
Oh yeah.
Hey, could happen. He's
not going to win tomorrow. He won't win. But give him a belt. God damn it. Give him the TNT title.
I really
give him a long run.
I wish they just threw the trios title on the best friends. They need it.
I suspect they didn't want best friends to lose them to the elite when they come back. But
I love the confidence of when they come back. It's very good.
I mean, God, man, I love how wrestling is just permeated through the gaming industry because I completely forgot that Imran and John their brains were also poisoned by wrestling.
I didn't watch it for so many years. I only got into it because Reb started liking it.
Right.
Started watching wrestling.
Thread.
Yeah. So she is way into it. I sadly have a CM Punk shirt that I'm not sure I can wear anymore. But she's really into it, and we pretty much watch it. We are probably going to for Grand Slam tomorrow because I'm still quarantining from Tokyo. I will sit with AirPods on my phone in the guest room while she watches downstairs, and we will talk through what we are watching.
That is adorable. That is goals right there.
I think you should get married. Is what I think.
Yeah, y'all should get engaged maybe this weekend or something or whatever.
Maybe this weekend. I'm gonna take credit for it.
Good idea
that out there.
If you need someone to officiate your wedding, I'll do it right now or next week.
I think we might have to ask Greg Miller, but you are number 2 option.
Tag team. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Number 2 priest on the internet. That's right, baby.
I call number 3.
That about does it for the Giant Bombcast today. Jeff Grubb, thank you as always, sir, for co-captaining this hot air balloon. Ooh, every time I see a hot air balloon video, I think of you.
You should.
Special thank you to our guests, Imran Khan, John Warren. Gents, where can folks find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Imran, Z-O-M-G. You please keep up for that in the next week or two because I plan to have, as I said earlier, a Patreon announcement sometime there.
Come on Game S Morning sometime next week to talk about it.
Yeah. We'll do.
You can find me. You can find me on the Twitter machine at Floppy Adult. You should absolutely also check that out because I will also be announcing some stuff over the next couple of weeks. And you should follow an account called If You're Driving. IFYOUREDRIVING. If You're Driving, Close Your Eyes is a brand new podcast from LB Hunktears, Nikki Grayson, and myself that'll be launching in October. And we invite you to that chaos because it's a lot of fun. Those two people are the funniest people I know. So it'll be a great show.
What a murderer's row of a podcast lineup. Jeez, I got chills thinking about it. Dang.
Good stuff.
All right. Well, until next week, everybody. That'll do it for today's episode of the Giant Bombcast. We got an obscene amount of stuff popping off this week, an obscene amount of quick looks, an obscene amount of streams, and boy, howdy, could I use a nap. We'll see you next week. It played. Woo.
The Giant Bombcast is hosted and live produced by Jan Ochoa, with support from Jeff Grubb, Dan Reichert, Jess O'Brien, Lucy James, Tamor Hussein, Jason A. Stryker, Matthew Rory, and me, Jeff Bacalar. Our theme music is provided by Tom Monda. Our logo is designed by Dave Schopenek, and you can find him online with the handle @DaveSavedTheDay. Justin Vachon is our sweet little art boy. And thank you so much for listening. Of course, a kiss on the cheek to you at home.
And a kiss on the mouth.